They want to kill us. They want to control us. They want to take everything that we have, everything to smile about, everything to praise God about, because they want to take away God. They are the absence of God. They are a Luciferian organization. In their initiation, they lay nude in the coffin and they're born again into the satanic order.
We are in process of developing a whole series of techniques which will enable the controlling oligarchy to get people actually to love their servitude. People can be made to enjoy a state of affairs which, by any decent standard, they ought not to enjoy.
There's a need for a new world order. Someday, in the next few years, a solution will emerge.
We are change. Exposing the collectivist global elites' Malthusian quest for a new world order. A one-world dictatorial government where all aspects of human life are under their control. Truth Talk Radio. Where news the mainstream media ignores is the top story and your voice is heard. Only on informedradio.com.
Good afternoon, this is Howard Nima and Vinny Be the Truth, and you are watching and listening to We Are Change. How's it going, Vinny?
It's good to be back.
Good to be back.
I've been here since the Fritz show.
That's right. Yeah, you missed last week's show, and the other broadcast you had family engagement that you needed to take care of, and I guess you still having a little car trouble, huh?
Yeah, and now my computer just got hacked, and I'm gonna have to take care of that.
That happened to me last month, and
this is my first time with the computer getting the virus, so everything's gone.
Everything?
Everything.
Can't open any programs?
No, it's like you get about 15 seconds and it just keeps cutting off. A picture comes up at some company with like a big red pyramid, and it's like 3 pyramids.
Wow,
and
3 pyramids.
Down.
Very nice.
And that's it.
I think they're sending you a message, Vinny.
Yeah, I don't think they liked I was uploading videos.
Well, that's clearly you know, terrorist activity. You know, to expose a criminal government that is been hijacked by basically by bankers who are now fleeing the country like rats fleeing a sinking ship as they resign from positions of power in their banking communities.
And they got all their little puppets to do their dirty work.
And they have their puppets to do their dirty work.
You know. But
there's just a lot of news going on, and we've had some fantastic guests on in the last 3 weeks, and haven't really gotten to news. But again, today is going to be another day where we're going to have a lot of important information that has to get out to the public. It is absolutely critical that we get this information out.
Yeah, I know we got Deborah Tavares coming on.
Deborah Tavares is coming on.
Smart meters, which, you know, my father is an HVAC. You know, air conditioning, heating, refrigeration. My Uncle George owns a company. You know, I did a little bit when I was younger, like some tin working with the central air. So I mean, I know a little bit already about, you know, how that works, and that's why it's going to be really interesting to hear Deborah Tavares talk about that. I already know a little bit with my family being involved in that about the smart meters, and you know, obviously my father and them, there's ways to go around it, you know, but it'll be interesting to hear Deborah Tavares talk about that.
Yeah, she's also Gary Richard Arnold is going to be joining us, who is a tremendous activist on this part, working together with Dr. Ed Spencer, who will also be a guest. Nice. Now, he is a neurologist. I'm just going to go over everyone's credentials here. Now, Deborah had sent me basically I'm going to read you from her bio. Deborah Tavares has been an internationally known activist who travels, organizes, and publicizes the dangers and crimes of harmful globalist programs. As a young girl, Deborah's family traveled internationally, and in more recent years, she and her husband have been property developers in multifamily construction. These experiences have given Deborah both wide and close-up views of institutional wrongdoing on a worldwide scale. Deborah is concerned with the connections between mysterious global trends such as the loss of property rights, epidemics, and deaths caused by man-made and institutionally controlled technologies, the questionable claim of the global warming movement, and major programs known to cause damage to the health and freedoms of the general public, such as airborne geoengineering toxins, smart meters, which are actually radiation-emitting electric meters, multinational programs which are installing these electromagnetic radiation-emitting electric meters, known as smart meters, programs that cause scarcity of food and safe food and water, and the massive ongoing of land seizures by federal agencies, especially in the United States. Wow, this is exactly what's going on, everybody.
That's part of Agenda 21.
This is Agenda
too, right?
21. Again, this is all part of Agenda 21, and she covers the gamut.
I remember a couple years ago, also something like that is when they did it with the toilets. You remember that, with the regulating how much water you
That's
could
right.
have?
I lived in Queens. Well, I lived in Queens, bro. I had the old commercial flush. It's
Where
like 10 gallons of flush.
It'll suck you in with it.
It'll suck you in with it.
Everything's getting
and
pulled
I
in.
remember there was some work that had to be done, and the guy changed the mounting. He said, "Don't ever change this toilet, guy, because these new toilets, they don't flush right."
Yeah, because they're made with the new standard, I guess, you know, to where
it doesn't even flush
Africa
once,
and you can't have any water to flush.
It doesn't work once, so you got to flush it twice. It actually wastes water, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously.
Yeah. More times.
Again, Deborah is a tremendous activist. She covers the gamut here, collecting evidence against the criminals who are really hijacking our government for world government. Now, there's for those of that are listening, we're going to try to keep this now. Now, a lot of people that listen to the show have a lot of knowledge of this, and you're obviously interested in the information. But we also try very hard to reach people that are skeptics, or maybe that are just being introduced to this and might not know about a lot of the things that we're talking about. So we're going to try to keep it on a level that will be understandable for somebody that's new to this information. So please have some patience if you obviously know what Agenda 21 is and the CFR and you know about the chemtrails. If you're aware of all of these things, this is going to be just to reinforce and to open your eyes to some new information that is breaking every day about this.
And see, yeah, and that's important because, you know, a lot of people who are listening or people that know about this, you know, people who are listening to this are obviously want information to learn, and then you also got to go out and tell other people. You know, it's a big movement, so if you know a little bit about something, then you get the experts come on, and then you learn more, and once you learn more, it's a lot easier for you to explain things to people. You know, like 9/11 or something, you know, or anything, the political system, if you don't know anything and you just know... Oh.
Hello.
Hi, this is Gary.
Oh, hi, Gary.
Hi, Gary.
Gary, and you're on the air, Gary, and Deborah. I hear you back there too. I was just we were just going over your bios here. Thanks for joining on the call. How are you guys?
We're both fine.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm just going to read. Go ahead.
We're under chemtrail skies here in California here today. And they've been flying massively over us since November, intensifying as it appears.
Yeah, it's like that here all the time, but we actually just got a little bit of snow. The first one in like months. We actually got a little bit of snow last night, so it's cloudy. Can't see if they're chemtrailing us today, but it seems like it's getting worse and worse.
Right, it is. And I have actually a bit of breaking news that came over the Rumor Mill News reading room. They're talking about hundreds and hundreds of big banksters are resigning all over the world. And the concern is, where are they going? It seems to be a massive exodus in the month of February right now. And this is posted Monday, February the 20th, the Rumor Mill News and Reading Room. And there are literally pages and pages of banksters that are leaving the banks.
That's right.
Wow, so what are they getting ready to go to their underground bases?
Well, that's anybody's guess. They're certainly pillaged, raped, and plundered our system. And who knows? There could be the intention, of course, to get us on over into the cashless society much quicker, all chipped and all on cashless, carbon-based currency. this would be one way to do it, to collapse the dollar immediately.
Well, we know that the 17 plus trillion, and that's just our debt. The worldwide debt is just outrageous, and it's all fraudulent debt that was created by the derivatives scandal, which is Larry Summers and his criminal activities that were sanctioned by Bill Clinton by repealing Glass-Steagall and allowing these derivatives and credit default swaps and all of this stuff to happen, to allow the banks to sell securities again, which is the whole reason we had the Great Depression. And one of the reasons why they put Glass-Steagall into place. Didn't they put the Federal Reserve into place to stop things like this from ever happening again? Wasn't that the intention that they sold, the lie that they sold to the people?
Yeah, just like the UN to stop war.
Yeah.
Everything is based on such an enormous lie, and that's probably one of the most difficult things for people to understand, that we have been absolutely betrayed on every level. We've been lied to about everything, and I mean not quite everything. We can see when the sun is shining, but these days with all the chemtrails, not much. But getting into smart meters, because certainly this is going to add to the capability of total monitoring and the cashless society. It's all interrelated, as well as peak oil and the carbon dioxide and the dollar devaluation. And they all have a commonality with smart meters. But just for the listening audience, I thought I would just back into a rudimentary explanation of what a smart meter is. And what it is it is a low-frequency radio-transmitted meter that is set to be replaced on every structure in the United States, actually worldwide. This is a control grid. And you will no longer experience your meter reader coming out to your home and taking the monthly usage and then billing you. This will actually connect wirelessly to your utility company. They will be able to monitor your use. At some point, we will all be required to use RFID chipped appliances. The success of this smart grid with the electric side of the grid is that we must replace all of our appliances so that they can monitor the usage into our individual meters on our homes. And utility companies have not told us any of this. They rolled out the benefits, saying that we would receive convenient energy alerts if there were outages, and there would be the advantage of time-varying pricing plans that we could take advantage of, and that we could view and track our hourly usage and get faster power restoration. So we've been deceived about the rollout of this in the very beginning. In fact, they don't refer to it as a rollout. They actually refer to it as a deployment. And when you realize that there are health effects of radiation, and there's increased utility costs, and there's required appliance change-outs, that it invades our privacy, there are remote shutdowns attributed to this, which will also become rationing. There are also uninsurable liability consequences, and that's a hot topic which we'll cover a little bit more in depth in our phone conversation today. But landlords are in tremendous libelous positions as more and more tenants will become sick. So I guess I can say that smart meters are a managed control of our lives, and that it is rationing of our resources, because our resources under the guise of global warming are not sustainable. And PG&E out here in California is the template for the rest of the utility companies across the nation. And PG&E was at the 1992 Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit, and they were amongst the top 25 contributors to the summit, and they are a template, as I said. And their whole business model is based upon the premise that global warming must be solved. They're going to help solve it. They're going to force us to get behind a hoax. And they're going to require that we reduce CO2 and reduce our use of resources. And this is the lie that is being perpetrated to the American people.
Well, this is also what they're doing. Like while Obama is shutting down coal plants, GE can build all the coal plants they want, and all the GE washers and dryers and all the GE appliances already have these chips in them, and many other companies do. So they're already your home already has this device.
That's true.
I mean, I have a Maytag dishwasher, washer dryer. That's the newest one I bought only about 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm sure that it has this technology in there. So all they have to do is slap this meter on, take off my meter outside, slap this meter on, and tell me that I'm spending too much money. We're not going to allow you to use the usage, or worse, just tax it and increase the rates. That's the goal, isn't it?
Well, it is to increase the rate, but also we're finding between 3 and 10% of the people that receive a smart meter, before they even have the additional RF in their homes from the transmitting RFID chipped appliances, because essentially not everyone will be replacing those right away. But the people, 3 to 10% of the people are getting quite sick. They're at the extent where I'm hearing regularly, and we're hearing as a group here in California, actually all over the world, they're reporting EMF-sensitive encampments where people have to leave the cities because of the cell phone towers, the cell phones. They call it electrosmog in Europe. And here in the United States, there's a group that's actually out onto the desert in motorhomes because they are just so sick. Some of those illnesses are short-term memory loss, nausea, just a fullness in the brain, heart palpitations. It includes, ultimately, nervous system disorders, as well as cancer. So we're being massively polluted. They know it. We knew it. We know it. And the military documents that this program is based upon is weaponized. And the military documents are on the website. I encourage everyone to go to refusesmartmeters.com. And there's also an additional link on that website because we've intensified information, and that is an additional website that you can link on it from refusesmartmeters.com. And that website is called smartmetersmurder.com. And we have really a good write-up about the fossil fuel lies, and good videos and accompaniments there just to get you started on the understanding of the hoax. But I can say that we are fighting skyrocketing utility bills. We were promised by the current administration that utility bills would necessarily skyrocket. And the reason that this rollout has just rolled like a snowball downhill is the federal government has injected so much stimulus money, and then we have all of these stakeholders that are vying and just licking their chops to change our lives, monitor our lives, know every piece of data in our homes. We will be losing the freedoms that we've enjoyed in the past in our homes because each appliance has its own frequency ID, and it can be identified. So as you use your required chipped appliances, both large and small, they will know what you are using, when you are using, and your privacy is gone. These are electrified internment homes that we're putting ourselves into, and we don't know it. So some of the actions that people are taking is they're printing off flyers off of the site. We've been doing signs that are the size of real estate signs that say refuse smart meter. People can buy those off the site and put them in your neighborhoods. We put them on our windows as sun visors just to advise people that they need to refuse. And it gets the idea of, why would I want to refuse? Because the government and the utilities are pushing these on us. They want everyone to have a smart meter. And for those that may be hearing about the opt-out conversation in California, which means that the California Public Utility Commission has been discussing an opt-out for quite some time, it's really an illusion. They've had to appease the negative press. because people have gotten so sick. And when they've taken off those meters to regain some semblance of health, PG&E, the utility provider here in Northern California, turned off their power. And that just looked absolutely cruel. And because of the negative press, they had to look like they were listening. They have not been listening. People are getting sick everywhere, and they continue to deploy these. People are building cages around their analog meters to secure them as an anti-vandalism protection. They're writing notes on their meters saying do not replace with a smart meter, putting no trespassing signs up on their property. Utility companies do not have the right to trespass upon us. They do not have easement rights to emit dirty electricity onto our homes through our wires, which receive additional electricity because of the smart grid. And they do not have the right to pulse deadly pulsed RF and EMF through our bodies. They do not have that right. And we must stop this. We must say absolutely no.
I was going to ask you, you're talking about the ELF waves and low frequency waves. Probably a lot of listeners and myself could learn a little more if you could explain a little bit more what that means to the average listener about the low frequency. And
yes,
also real quick to add is, what about the Wi-Fi? I feel like there's these Wi-Fi all over, and isn't that like sort of the same thing, and we're getting hit with this Wi-Fi everywhere you go?
Absolutely. Between cell phone towers, cell phones, and Wi-Fis, we're pretty much cinched up, and now with the smart grid, we'll be a complete surveillance society. And they can pulsate us, and we will become very, very sick. I encourage people to go again to the website, refusesmartmeter.com. There are a number of excellent videos there about dirty electricity, and I'll explain what that is as briefly as I can. We will have higher frequencies as a result of this smart grid and the smart meters on our homes, and they will mix with lower frequencies that will put currents onto our existing wiring in our homes. And this will flow, as I say, on those same wires. And what's happening is easily demonstrated on the website, Dirty Electricity, and Dr. Sam Millam explains that quite eloquently. But what happens is this energy will radiate out off our wires into our space. So we have low-frequency RF radiation that our bodies will pick up and we will become sick. Also, all the other metal in our homes, such as wired box spring mattresses, even women's underwire bras, will act as an antenna. And the radiation and dirty electricity will jump onto all of these things. So as you're sleeping at night, you will receive additional radiation.
God.
No one is told this. No one knows this. This was by design and stealth. They know what they're doing. This is not a mistake. If we know and they know, then you have to ask yourself, why on earth would they be doing this? And that's a conversation we will have in a little bit. But there are just so many reports and studies, scientific studies from all over the world. The AMME, it's one of the groups that has commissioned the California Public Utility Commission to actually place a moratorium immediately on the further deployment of smart meters. They absolutely find that it is horrific that this is rolling out. But what people need to realize is this is all being foisted through a design that was hatched in the 1930s called technocracy. And technocracy is a totalitarian system of government where scientists and engineers and technicians monitor and control all facets of personal civil life, economic and social and political aspects of how we live. And the implementation of the grid and the technology, it's reinventing the electric grid with Wi-Fi enabled digital power meters. and it's proceeding at breakneck speed because, as I mentioned earlier, the government is funneling massive amounts of money into this, and that's why we're seeing an explosion of this deployment. And it's under the guise of green. And proponents of the grid claim that it will empower the consumer to better manage his or her power consumption and the costs. And the utility companies will be more efficient in balancing power loads and requirements across the diverse markets. And this, of course, is absolutely not true. We also know that the smart grid can be hacked very easily. That has been demonstrated. It's just a technology that's waiting to not work, cost us more money, make us ill, and control everything. And when you realize that it's under United Nations Agenda 21 Smart Grid, that the intention is to control every facet of our lives, monitor us completely, and as we will discuss further and later as well, move us off of our private properties into human settlement zones. I mean, this sounds bizarre.
Stacks. They want to stack buildings. They want the buildings to be stacked, you know, like narrow.
Well, stack and pack.
Stack and pack. That's exactly right.
Well, stack and pack are nice words. They're words that make us feel like it's a little more comfortable because I've heard people say, and this is true, their intention is to move us into areas that's near mass transit with bike paths, and our shops and our work will be underneath. It's supposed to be a 5-minute lifestyle, so you can go wherever you want. You're not going to have your car. You're not going to need it. What cars are available will be electric cars, small cars. Bicycles will be the theme. And there will be food sheds that will be designed around these human settlement zones, as they're called in the actual book of Agenda 21. That is what it's called. Stack and pack illustrates our vocabulary, though, for those that are listening. But in Agenda 21 documents themselves, they call them human settlement zones. And these food sheds that will be provided within about a 150-mile radius of these zones will provide all of the caloric intake that's designated for the people that will live in those districts, those areas, those smart communities. This is all about control of reserves and massive control of people. And right now, they are inventorying all of our consumption, everything. This is what we're finding across the board in our cities. And I think Gary can talk to that too, because we've been going to one-day meetings here in Northern California, and it's just an onslaught. We are being targeted from so many directions. We're practically breathless with the number of meetings that we're finding that we're having to attend to stay on top of the city council members, the county board of supervisors, every other meeting. And I know Gary's doing a fabulous job of passing out DVDs to people everywhere he goes.
You know, it's interesting because it is, everything you're saying is exactly true, and it's right on. This is their plan. But look how it's already being implemented with the supermarkets. You can't save money unless you have that supermarket card, that discount card, that now will even save you money on gas. So we can know everything that you buy, how much you buy, and you're already used to this situation. So when they change the program, that's your little card, well, your little card is only going to allow you to have X amount of credits for food, but you want Y credits, but you can't get Y because everybody gets X. And then we're going to depreciate or decrease X so that now everybody's going to, go on forced diets, and everyone's going to start to lose weight very quickly, and everything else. It's just
we're all overweight in their opinions anyway. We need to cut back, and that is part of all of the plan. But what happened in 2005? The legislation was approved that approved the smart meters, and they've been stealthily starting their deployments back in about 2007 to 2008. No one knew what smart meters were. In fact, on a number of our properties in Southern California, we had smart meters installed, and these are on some apartments. And we discovered it because tenants were asking us, what are these smart meters? And as land developers, we thought, well, no problem. they were concerned. They mentioned radiation, and immediately I felt, ooh, this is litigation in the making. So I went down to the mega complex of Southern California Edison, which is the provider in Southern California area, to ask for their environmental impact report. They didn't have one. They told me that it was a very small project and they were not required. That was alarming to us because as land developers, we knew that environmental impact studies were required on just about anything. You sneeze sideways on a building site, you need an environmental impact study. Being a little exaggerated there, but the truth is that 5 million customers is not a small project, and we became quite alarmed that there wasn't some documentation that said these meters that they were rolling out and planning to roll out on their entire customer base were indeed safe. So when we came up to Northern California, where we lived, PG&E is the provider, we asked them, and they said yes, and we asked the CPUC, and they said there is no environmental impact study. Then we started looking at, with other large groups, the studies that they were relying on through the FCC, and those were outdated, inadequate studies. The FCC never did any studies on multiple meters on buildings. None of that is included in the studies that were provided. And there's also an interesting conflict between the EPA report and the FCC studies. The EPA has said that they are concerned about pulsed radiation. But no one went back and none of this was investigated. They were just rolling out. And I was invited as one of 10 customers in the PG&E service area for a customer advisory group. And there were 3 meetings involving that discussion. And I found out that after pushing them, they brought in one of their legal staff, because I asked them, as a property owner, and should we become involved in litigation if a tenant, at that time I wasn't sure how bad the electromagnetic sensitivity issue would reveal. It was before things really were amping up. I said, what happens when tenants get sick and they come to us and you force these meters on our properties? They don't have UL approval. We built our properties. We would never have initially installed these on our homes to begin with. Even obtaining insurance without UL approval could have been a question. And they said, well, PG&E would not be responsible or liable for any problems with the tenants because they were mandated by the CPUC. I checked with our insurance carrier, and there is no environmental coverage. So for all property owners that are out here, what we really see here is a collapse of private property through massive litigation. These people get so sick that they can't function. There are different degrees of illnesses, of course. Many take a number of years. They're not as electrically, magnetically sensitive, but the radiation is going to cut everyone's DNA, and we will become sick. Many people won't understand why they have heart palpitations, and they won't think of it as their smart meter on their home, or the grid mesh network in their community, or having an office that's outside of a cell phone tower. They won't relate to that right now. But I can tell you that we know that there are large law firms and insurance firms that are already setting up templates for the benefit of all of the utility companies nationwide to protect them from imminent RF and EMF claims. Of course, the concern is that the lawyers will jump in on this. There'll be massive class action litigation against property owners where the only resource for monetary gain will come from because they'll be called into the suit as well. The meters are on their properties. So what we are doing is we've designed a liability release that we're requiring all of our tenants to sign. We attempted to take the meters, the smart meters, off of a couple of dozen units down in the Southern California area just before the Christmas in November of 2011. And that was unsuccessful. We built steel cages around them. And the utility company wanted to meet with us and discuss what we had done because we took off the smart meters roughly 30% of our tenants have been calling us and telling us they were not feeling well. We had multiple meters on the ends of a number of our buildings. And we felt absolutely responsible as property owners and as stewards of our property and having property rights that we would take these meters off. We weren't going to put up with that. Well, we were advised by the utility company that they wanted to meet with us. They canceled, and instead they deployed an attack team of utility workers with police. They came out onto both of our properties, which were in two different cities, the same morning at the same time. Our tenants were calling us. Our phone was ringing off the hook. It looked like SWAT had attacked our buildings. Why would anyone enforce to this extent? This is starting to happen, where they are bringing police, escorted police by police, to make you have a biohazard on your home, of which you are defenseless against in court as far as litigation. You lose your property rights because you must have this, they say. This is unbelievable. So on refusesmartmeters.com, we have forms and various items that people need to look at. You can also go to freedomtaker.com. That is freedomtaker.com. And listen to Jerry Day, who has done some wonderful videos on observing our rights. And we must do that. We must not allow these on our homes. This is a call out to the rest of the nation from California. And I'm a native Californian, and if there's any way that we can benefit the rest of you out there in other states, please take heed and listen to what's happening in this granola crazy land that I find myself living in. This is true, this is happening, and California is the template in so many things for the rest of the nation. And there will be other things we'll discuss as the program goes along as well.
You know, you said so many great things that are very important. And who makes these meters? Who produces these? Who's the producer of these meters?
Well, GE is one of the fundamental manufacturers of them. There are other companies as well. But GE is, in fact, as you know, GE just moved out of the United States to China.
Yes, GE, they pay no taxes. I knew it was GE. I knew it. I was going to say GE makes these. GE, we bring good things to death.
That's exactly right.
Oh.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, Vinny
has been
Vinny has something to say here. Wait.
No, I was just going to say, you were talking about California being like the front line. I think like California and New York, states like that, we were talking about like smart growth centers. That's really what New York and California is. And the whole Agenda 21 and all this is about putting all of us sheep into these, packed into these little cities, like you said, by railroad tracks and this and that. And then all the good land and the good water and the good grass is what the Rockefellers and all the elite families get to own. And California, like you're saying, is the front ground because it's already like New York. It's just a big, smart growth city already almost.
Well, it is. And additional things that are coming out of California that everybody needs to know about, and we'll talk to Gary on this as well. But there is a very important map that everyone needs to look at. I think that this will show you the vastness of this Agenda 21 plan that is manifesting itself with so many tentacles. You think of Agenda 21 as an octopus. And it is a simulated reserve corridor system to protect biodiversity, remembering that all of this is being foisted on us on the lie of global warming and the fact that there are really too many people using too much stuff. And before I get into more conversation on that, I can say that, that's what the mega elites believe. Bill Gates, Ted Turner, Oprah Winfrey, many of these global elitists do believe that there are too many people, and they consider us useless feeders. Now, when you look at this simulated map, which I would ask everybody to write this website down, it's called Freedom Advocates, plural, freedomadvocates.com, and you'll see this extremely scary map. It's called Wildland Project, and it's a map of the United States, and it shows the corridors. This is mandated by the UN Convention on the Biodiversity. This is in play. This is what is happening. They are moving forward with this. It's a vital step in attaining sustainable development. This map will show you a key in colors of core reserve sections and corridors that will not allow, well, maybe they'll allow a little to no human use. There will be buffer zones that will be regulated human use. This sounds insane. I hear myself saying this, and it sounds insane, but I am not. I am looking at the map.
It is true. It is happening. Last month, we hosted Hal Shurtleff, a good friend. By the way, Hal Shurtleff, it's Hal Shurtleff's birthday today from the John Birch Society. Happy birthday, Hal. I know you're listening. Happy birthday to you. Now, he did a wonderful seminar with the Oath Keepers, the Waterbury, or the Connecticut chapter of the Oath Keepers, who we're all aligned with. We all work together to get this information about Agenda 21 out, and he did a tremendous job exposing this, and it's coming here in Connecticut, in Beacon Falls, Connecticut. They're already shutting off areas of land that they're saying you can't go there because there's like a, I don't know, some sort of a waterfowl or something that you might be getting in its way, but it's really not the real reason. As we all know, it's just to take away all of the resources and bring us all. I live in the country. I live in Torrington, Connecticut, which is a city that they're going to look at as, I don't know how they're going to approach it, 35,000 people in this city. They're going to, you know, it used to be a thriving manufacturing town. John Brown was born here. There's history in this town. But now it is a relic. It is a shell. During World War II, it was the reason we won the war. The military-industrial complex aspect in Torrington was with the ball bearings and all of the other necessities for the engines of war, and now all those factories have moved to China.
Well, they're intentionally collapsing our system and moving us into a world that I don't think any of us want to be moved into and don't realize we are being moved into it. Another important thing that I would like to tell all the listeners, and again, this is coming out of California, it's called the California Essential Habitat Connectivity Project, and it's a strategy for conserving a connected California. And this is a document that was prepared for the California Department of Transportation and the California Department of Fish and Game with funding from the Federal Highways Administration. And what is so important to know about this is we are seeing the collapse of our roads. They're not repairing our roads. Here in Sonoma County, they've slated to only continue maintenance on about 150 miles of roads, and the rest will just collapse. And this is all part of the Wildlands Project.
It's already happening here. They do the same thing here. Okay. We have the same problems here. They're doing the same thing. The infrastructure of our country, to all our listeners, is by design not being replaced, not being fixed. Bridges are going to collapse. Bridges, they wait till they collapse, then they address the issue. Bridges are going to collapse. Roads are going to are falling apart. Our electrical infrastructure is archaic.
Yeah, they want to curtail our traveling, collapse the auto industry because we won't need cars. We're not in, public lands any longer. And funding of this project that I mentioned is by the California Department of Transportation and the State Planning and Research Program. 80% is Federal Highway Administration, and 20% is California Transportation Funds. And what's very important is there are a number of groups and members, steering committees, that have been behind this devised plan. This is the rewilding of California. And what is interesting is the multidisciplinary team that was participating agencies, and I'm only going to just name a few. This is coming your way. This is headed to every state. But just so that you understand, the levels of participation are coming from Fish and Game, Department of Conservation, even the United States Air Force, Western Regional Environmental Offices, United States Bureau of Land Management, United States Bureau of Reclamation, United States Department of Defense, Marines, United States Environmental Protection Agency, United States Fish and Game and Wildlife Service, United States Forestry Service, and United States Geological Survey. There are many other listed multidisciplinary participants here, but I want to read to the audience. This is an executive summary, and this is very, very concerning. They say that the California Department of Transportation and the Fish and Game has been commissioned by the California Essential Habitat Connectivity Project because a functional network of connected wildlands is essential to the continued support of California's diverse natural communities in the face of human development and climate change. This report is also intended to make transportation and land use planning more efficient and less costly, while helping reduce dangerous wildlife vehicle collisions. This is the first paragraph in this summary, to reduce dangerous wildlife vehicle collisions. It says this report was produced by a highly collaborative, transparent, and repeatable process that can be emulated by other states. And then there is a map of California. And again, it is like the Wildlands Project map on freedomadvocates.org. It is a rewilding program. The plan is to connect all of our parks together and not have roads in between. Another concern that we have heard recently as well, we had a meeting up here in Northern California that one of the universities out of San Francisco officiated. And they were talking about the demise of our trees. We're losing our beautiful native California oaks. They're dropping by the thousands. And they're studying.
Listen, are you there?
I'm
sorry.
Yeah, I have some interference. There's some feedback.
There was a little feedback there. All right. I don't know, but I was just going to mention that we have this problem here. I've lived in Connecticut I have like 100 trees on my property, something like that, 70 trees. And I moved here 6 years ago. Now, they trail here all the time. My chemtrails, I mean, there's literally a schedule. 8 a.m. and 11 a.m., I can look outside my house on any given day that's clear, and the planes are going over my house.
That's absolutely true. In fact, we know that all of the different heavy metals that they're dropping and dumping on us
are killing the trees.
pH in the soil.
They're killing the trees. I have dead trees on my property. Lots of them. They're dying. The trees are dying.
They're in the process of deforesting and blaming it on us due to global warming. Everyone that's listening could go and search for the video, the movie actually. It's about 2 hours long, and it is called Iron Mountain, A Blueprint for Tyranny. And this was done back in the mid-'60s. It's a documentary. It will tell you exactly how all of this was fabricated, how the lie of global warming and the fear that they've put around that to manage the population through fear. They knew that we would be tired of war. They wouldn't be able to manage us through the fear of war, and of course they're trying to manage us through the fear of terrorism as well. But that will really be an educational 3 hours or 2 hours that's well worth everyone's time. Another item I really, really recommend everybody read, and it's on refusesmartmeters.com, and it's called The New NWO, stands for New World Order, NWO Exposed, 1969. And this is a transcript of a 2-hour tape on the New World Order. And it was transcribed. Dr. Richard Day was a professor back in 1969, and he called a group of doctors together to discuss what was going to happen, and he didn't want them to be completely in the dark. So it delineates what he understood was the plan. It was set in motion, and he said it's done. It's just a matter of time. And so this one doctor that put together this New World Order expose, I would really recommend everyone read it. Much of what they said was in play has already occurred. Much of it has not yet. We need to stop the not yet part of this. So, again, something very, very important for everyone to read. That's on refusesmartmeters.com. It's important to know that there are just so many directions that we're being pelted now by the elite, the Illuminati elite, the families that are just destroying us with intention. They're targeting, again, we've talked about our private property rights. They're imposing regulations and fines and penalties and stealing our private lands right out from under us because in Northern California, for example, if some of the ranchers are found to have a dead fingerling salmon in a stream that runs through their, couple of thousand acres of property, they're fined $25,000. That's just from the Fish and Game. Then they'll have the U.S. Forestry come onto their property and tell them that they have to remove non-native trees, and they can't cull their trees, meaning that they're overforested, and they're getting ready to remove 3 dams, which will reduce 70,000 homes of having hydroelectricity. And of course, we know that hydroelectricity under Agenda 21 is not sustainable. Cattle are not sustainable under Agenda 21. In fact, there's not much that is sustainable under this program. And that will lead us...
It's all the plan of making us into like Africa, isn't it? It's about taking the industrialized countries and with the UN making it like we all got to be equal. And instead of bringing Africa into an industrialized country, they'll just bring us down to Africa's level. And all of these is, solar panels or like you're saying, hydro. Anything that's, that we could do to not be on their system, they're not going to allow. And they're just going to keep us on their systems. Even these solar panels, you have to be locked into their system. They just... Well,
what's interesting about solar panels is the fact that now NASA has confirmed that we have a 20% global dimming because of the plasma that's put up daily with this.
That is so ridiculous. Oh my God.
I know. It's unbelievable. And
the level of their madness is just unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. And and that gets me to wanting to let people know to go to Toxic Sky, TOXIC, sky.org. We have flyers that people can download and distribute. We also have an excellent interview that Dr. Bill Deagle did, and it's about 30 minutes long. It will explain exactly what this geoengineering, this overhead aerial secret spraying program that is being done to us by private corporations and government agencies like the CIA and the Navy and the military, and universities. And Bill Gates is involved in this as well.
Bill Gates owns Monsanto.
Weather, and they are directionalizing storms, and the degree of their ability to manipulate the weather is going to boggle most people's minds. It did ours at first. We had no idea that what we were looking up in our skies and seeing were all man-made clouds on many days, and we would see the jets zigzagging. And what would normally be a beautiful blue sky day here in the wine country would, in a few hours after these jets flew over, we would be covered in a plasma, and our skies would become very silverish in color. And typically what we see, and what I'm hearing other people discuss, is they'll notice these long, persistent jet contrails go from horizon to horizon. They don't dissipate like ice crystals, like a regular passenger liner. They persist, and it's in plain sight.
And then the whole sky is filled, and it looks like it's a cloudy day when there's not even a real cloud in the sky. You were talking about the website. You can mention again. I'm going to mention one of our members. She's got a website called Connecticut Skywatch. Same thing like you're saying. Her name's Ronnie. Me and her are the ones who actually went to an Agenda 21 meeting that they were having in Beacon Falls. And we actually went into the school and sat there and watched them, and we were handing out other information. And, the average person, they just pass it off like it's a great thing, you're saving the environment. They really, do it like it's a great thing, and the average people are sitting there thinking, oh, it's great, we want to save the animals and water, not realizing that their life is going to be, they're not going to be able to have good land or do anything with their land. They don't know any of this.
Well, it is planetary poisoning by design, and most people just absolutely cannot believe it. But spend some time, look at our flyer. We have referenced other websites as well, and the one that you mentioned there in Connecticut sounds like an excellent resource for people.
What was the one that you mentioned again? Can you give that again? Can you give the website you said again?
Yes, it's toxicsky.org.
Toxic, okay.
And what people need to realize is that there are dangerous levels of aluminum, coated particulate matter, and barium that are being found in our soil, that are being sprayed overhead. There are water samples taken nationwide. We have evidence of that. It increases human health problems like asthma and eye and skin irritations. Many people here, towards the end of the afternoons, are experiencing raspy throats. Not maybe necessarily sore throats, but just raspy throats. They don't know why. Older people, or people in general, are experiencing pneumonia-like symptoms and basically respiratory and upper respiratory problems, as well as neurological ailments, which have risen exponentially. There is inflammation of the brain because of all of the heavy aluminum that's being dropped on us. And we have an increase of all molds and mildews and viruses. And a lack of vitamin D, which is really associated to rickets in children and just bones. And again, I mentioned earlier about the reduction of solar panel production. And of course, the tree and plant life are declining. And an interesting comment that was made by the Berkeley School when they were up talking about the demise of our oak trees, when we brought up about the increased problems concerning the geoengineering program, they asked, were we reporters? And we said no. And they said, well, they don't know about that. They're getting huge grants to look into why the oak trees in California are collapsing. And they did not want to talk about what I know they know, because our group had been giving them information for quite a while. And they completely denied any knowledge, but they said something that was very, very concerning. They said that the forestry is interested in knowing why these spores are killing the oak trees, that they seem to be coming from the laurel that grow near oak trees, and they're maybe blowing in the wind, they're not really sure, but that we've got to cut down our laurels if we want to preserve any oaks that may not yet be infected by the spores, that we cut these laurels down to the ground and spray Roundup on them. Much of this type of vegetation are near streams and water tables. And I questioned the fact that they were recommending spraying Roundup on these roots of all these laurels.
Deborah, you know, of course, that Roundup is produced by Monsanto, and you also know, right? And you also know, maybe the people aren't aware that Bill Gates is now the primary owner, basically, as far as shares and such. He owns Monsanto. That his father is a eugenist that worked for Rockefeller's. He was on the board of directors of the Planned Parenthood, which is again Nazi backgrounds with Margaret Sanger and Hitler loved her. It's just unbelievable how it's right in your face if you're looking at it, but you don't see it. You see Bill Gates as this great humanitarian, him and Buffett giving away their billions. So all of a sudden, these are the wealthiest men in the world. It's hilarious how they print, who's the wealthiest person in the world is somebody worth a couple of $billion. It's just a joke. The whole thing is a lie, and
well, it is.
Aluminum-resistant seeds, Monsanto.
When I went to a venue here in Northern California that Ted Turner attended last June, he, of course, gave the United Nations $1 billion. And actually, Dr. Ed, who's on the program here today as well, was there that day with me when we attended this venue. And Ted Turner told the audience that we have a real problem with global warming, and we have a real green group here in Northern California, and they all clapped in recognition of that. He said there are just too many people using too much stuff, and everyone clapped just loudly. They were all enthusiastic about that confirmation. And then he said, we've got to reduce the number of people, and they clapped. And he said, there are just too many people. We're at a tipping point. We've got to do this soon. There's going to be scarcity of water and food. People are going to start starving, and it's going to get very chaotic. And then he said, we have to reduce the population by 95%. And at that point, I'm looking around at the couple of hundred people that are listening. And they didn't clap. That was the first point they did not clap about. I think they were sort of maybe doing the math. But then he said the unbelievable. He said at that point people will become, to the extent of starvation that they'll start cannibalizing.
Wow.
And that was pretty horrific.
Yeah, I remember that speech. Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually doing that tour, making the round, informing people of what's, of what in his opinion is coming, because they are intentionally collapsing our food supply, and they're also collapsing our water supply, blowing up dams all across the nation, hundreds of dams.
They want us to be like Africa, so we won't. It also has to do with making us so weak in every way, so we're not going to be able to fight back. Like you said, by cutting just the vitamins and simple minerals and this and that, that's how they kill most of Africa and weak people, the babies and older people. And it's all about I'm sure the 95% of the population he's talking about killing isn't his family. I'm sure the 5% living is their families.
Do you remember when they had the flooding, and they decided that it would be to save a town of 2,000 people, they would flood 100,000 acres of farmland that would never ever be able to be used again?
Yes.
Would anyone any person that's out there, and I don't know if you have the awareness of what we're talking about, or even if you're not aware, how in God's name could you destroy 100,000 acres of land that will never, ever, 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 ever be able to be used for farming, ever again, to save a town of 2,000 people? Would it be not better to compensate the 2,000 people that have to be relocated due to this disaster? Of course, but no, because there's no people there. So they twist things. They want to kill people, but they'll say, let's save 2,000 people. Okay.
Well, that would be, the honorable thing to do, to save 2,000, because they can have plausible deniability for the many more thousands that they'll kill because of reducing the ability to supply the food that our nation needs.
Well, that's the whole point. But they use this, they twist. It's just amazing. Like, I really can. I know how they think. I really can, and it's crazy. Vinny and I, we talk about this. Sort of like reverse engineering the way that they're planning this whole thing, as we're doing, and this is what they'll do. They'll say, well, we can't let 2,000 people in this small little bumfuck town, excuse my French, we can't let these people lose their homes.
They wouldn't lose their lives. They'd lose their homes because they had time to get away. So they didn't even...
Well, people... yeah, well, people aren't thinking about the lands that are going to not be used any longer.
Right,
They're looking at the people that are going to lose their homes.
Right.
And so that is a way in which they devastate they have a larger devastation that way. What they did, they devastated us in a more grand way. And when we look at the United Nations Globalist Achievement List, we see that they've already accomplished the financial crisis, more wars, the smart grid, the electronic toxic plague is what we call it. It's a plague.
They own the national parks.
Yes, and they're taking them over. In fact, we're having a meeting today here in Northern California where our area is looking at not being able to afford the upkeep and management of 1,100 parks that are our parks, the people's parks. The cities are broke. They can't afford the upkeep and the maintenance. They are meeting to have private-public partnerships look at coming in to manage these parks, to maybe have concessionaries set up where there will be monies earned and they can keep these parks open. This is the first step to precluding our access to these parks. And this is happening all over the nation. And I talked to friends in Colorado and in Oregon. They're not allowing people in the national forests. They've blocked access. The roads are crumbling. It's in play. It's in absolutely play, guys. And we are really at a time where we have to wake up. We must wake up immediately. We need to take a look at some of these websites, get yourself familiar with the smart grid and the intentions of this. Understand what is happening. Everything is strange. It's strange. Know that things are strange and follow up on it, because all it takes is for you to say to somebody, as we say to people, things are just not right. And people know that things aren't right. When you give them some information, we found that they are more agreeable to understanding the information because it actually allows them to put a placeholder on what they know is wrong. But we are being consumed right now. Our nation is being consumed. And there is a plan, and it is a deadly plan, and there's a plan to alter our existence forever. And we must take action and wake up to the many things that are occurring.
That's very true, and Vinny has something to chime in?
Well, I was just, I guess to add, it's always also in like the last year of the presidency is when I always mention this, the last year is always when they put through like the craziest laws, because they don't know if they're going to be back or whatever. They always do the craziest stuff, and I'm sure that's what we have to look forward to this year, and we're going to be seeing the smart, like what you said, smart growth meters, everything is going to happen this year, I think.
Well, we'll see what's going to happen there, but I'll tell you this much. You're talking about things being crazy. We're broadcasting here from Torrington, Connecticut, and Mayor Ryan Bingham is a friend of mine. He's the mayor of Torrington, and I'm calling out to you again. I know you get information from me, or I share this broadcast with you. I share a lot of my films. You can't help but notice it on Facebook. I'm everywhere. So, with this information. Now, you took a journey to China back in November to see how the Sister City program set up by Eisenhower, how wonderful it is in China. And the propaganda that was spun in the Register Citizen and everything of how great it is. And you made one comment that sort of angered me. You said, it's great about how great it is to see how these cities are thriving in China. And it was unbelievable to see how much the government has control over their lives. Well, Mr. Bingham, unless you're absolutely asleep, how much control does our government have over our lives? And it's just stealthily done. And I don't know, politician, that you are, or if you're just you're a friend, you're a young guy, you're not even 30 years of age, and you're the mayor of a 35,000 people town. And I tell you, you've got to understand that this is real, and this is not coming to Torrington, not while I'm alive. And
well, I'll tell you something interesting about what you're telling your mayor right now. And this is what we're telling our city councils and our county board of supervisors and our mayors as well.
My state representative lives 4 doors down. Her name is Michelle Cook. I'm calling out to you, too.
Well, what's important to know is that many of these elected officials are adopting ICLEI, I-C-L-E-I. That means International Council on Local Environmental Initiatives. That's a mouthful. But what it really means, when you break it down into layman's terms, it means international criminal laws eliminating independence. And ICLEI is an arm of the United Nations. And they are being approved in towns throughout the United States. Our city councils and board of supervisors and mayors are signing us on to this. They're being given computer software so that they can calculate the greenhouse gas emissions. They pay ICLEI for that calculation. Different little cities are paying thousands of dollars for that calculation, as well as an annual ICLEI membership dues. You can go to ICLEI.org, I-C-L-E-I.org, to see if your town has signed on to ICLEI. What you can do, as now many cities are recognizing, is they're starting to kick ICLEI out. We have a big movement here in Northern California to kick ICLEI out of the towns that are so embedded with it. They are actually setting up little monitoring teams within the cities where, for example, in our town, the county city council appoints 2 members. They're appointed. They are breaking our town into districts. It's important to get the idea that along with districts is coming regionalization. They want to call the entire Northern California area one Bay Area region. They are regionalizing us. They're going to break California up into a number of regions, as well as the United States. We're going to become regions. We are intended to lose our identity, to lose our individual names of our towns. We're going to be a region. And what we're finding is that when they sign on to ICLEI, they're signing over their sovereignty, our sovereignty. They don't realize it. And it's our job to educate them. They are being given staff reports from staff that give them A, B, or C to decide upon. The staff has already been indoctrinated. This is a bottom-up, top-down, inside-out. And in many cases, the staff firmly believe that greenhouse gas and CO2 is a problem, and that must be measured. When building permits are given, they calculate the greenhouse gas to be emitted during the construction process of that development. You pay fees for that. This is absolutely based on a hoax. And this is what everything that's rolling forward is based on. It's a hoax. It's a total hoax, and we are all being masterfully betrayed.
Manipulated and betrayed. Listen, the Federal Reserve, again, it's not federal, obviously, for those that are out there that are unaware. It is a private corporation. The IRS is also a private corporation. And you go to the IRS's website and it says irs.gov. But it's not part of the government. In fact, if you go to the IRS, it says that you have no privacy and we're going to look into anything that you're doing here. And it's a private corporation. Imagine you call up, I don't know, call up Taco Bell and you say, and they say, I want to know everything about you. Well, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, that's where this is going. If you have healthcare problems, and once you're on this socialized system that they're going to put everybody on, well, you're going to pay more because you're eating a certain way, and they're going to know how much you weigh. They're going to know that you have a high cholesterol. You shouldn't be eating this food. So we're going to we're going to increase the price of your meal, or you can have a healthy alternative. I mean, that's what they're planning to do. It's just an unbelievable...
That's absolutely right. Well, they're planning to, of course, chip us. They're already doing that in India right now. And the entire Indian population, 1.4 billion, are in the process of having retina scans and fingerprint scanning, and they'll be given and issued cards for national ID. And it'll be, it's moving us into a cashless society. Again, another fraud. We have a fraudulent dollar. They're going to now base our system on CO2. And this is just a hoax. This is a lie. We have got to stop this. This is our time. We're all alive and breathing right now for a reason. We are not here, I don't believe, just to be here. We must take action. For our children, our grandchildren's sake, our world is being changed and transformed on a more rapid basis now than it ever has. And this is by a very stealth plan that has been laid out many, many years ago by these elite, Malthusian, insane, inbred, crazed people that have this plan for us. And I think Gary will really be addressing and speaking out to the identity of who is orchestrating this.
Absolutely.
Why are they orchestrating this?
Yes, Gary. Gary Richard Arnold. Absolutely want to hear your whole point of view on all the things we've been discussing. Just to give a little background for anybody that's not aware of Gary Richard Arnold, you can go to, and it's famous, you can go on Crossfire on YouTube and watch the Crossfire interview between CIA Tom Braden and Pat Buchanan with Gary Richard Arnold from the 80s. It's just a pleasure to have you on the show, sir. And you rented a cottage next door to Anthony Sutton. At the time, Sutton received his secret Skull and Bones papers, which was the first breakthrough since Skull and Bones was founded in 1832. It resulted in a worldwide expose of Skull and Bones, America's secret establishment. Mr. Arnold has won multiple nominations for state offices in California. Political campaigns were unique in that they distributed tens of thousands of books addressing the core of the conspiracy. So, Mr. Arnold, you have the floor, sir.
I don't think he's here.
He's there. Gary? Gary, are you on? Did we lose you, Gary? His phone's there.
That's her phone.
That's your... Gary, did we lose Gary?
Mm-hmm.
Truth, were you there? Gary's call dropped. Oh, Truth just told me. Okay. We're going to get him back on. I'm going to just tell you a little more about Gary. Now, he's got a great film that I've watched it several times. It's a great breakdown. You can go to YouTube and see Democracy by Deception. It is a wonderful breakdown of the entire Federal Reserve and the Rockefellers and the whole conspiracy. It breaks it down very clearly about what's going on. We're trying to get Gary back. I guess he's trying to get him. Truth, are you there?
Yeah, was it the 4 and 5 or E31?
I think 4.
I think it was the 4 number. Anyway, okay, so going over some things, again, this was amazing information. Please, everybody, check out these websites. smartmetersmurder.com. That's smartmetersmurder.com. commoncrime.net. toxicsky.org. and newworldorderexposed.com. And I want to thank you, Deborah, for all this information you've given us so far. I'm sure we're going to be talking a lot afterwards as we go through this. As soon as we get through to trying to get through to
Gary. Yeah.
Gary. His number is
reached a Sprint.
Is that it?
Oops.
Is Gary's
No.
Gary's number starts with a 415, right?
I'm sorry?
Gary's number starts with a 415?
No, it starts with an 831.
831. Truth, it's the other number. There you go. Sorry about that. Sorry for the delays, but the rebroadcast will edit it out.
Okay.
He might have lost service. So that happens sometimes.
Hi, you just called 475.
Whoop.
Nope.
Okay. Well,
I guess just keep going there, Deborah, until we can get Gary back. I mean, certainly, and Ed's not there either. I noticed that. I don't know, but
something's happened.
Well, it doesn't surprise me. I was talking to Gary about this before, that we were going to have the demons happen when people such as yourself come on to our shows. It's relentless. And now Vinny was just mentioning earlier that they hacked his computer hard drive shot. We're having a lot of issues due to the resistance that we're giving to this tyranny. And
I want to encourage people also to go to the website Smart Meters Murder. And again, I think I may have mentioned this a little bit earlier. Take a look at what smart meters, peak oil, carbon dioxide, and the dollar devaluation all have in common. There's a great article on that site, and it talks about Dr. Henry Kissinger, whose famous quote is, "Who controls the food supply controls the people.
Memorandum 200.
The energy can control the world and the continents, and who controls money can control the world." And to help them advance their goals, because of course they would never have had any public support, the Rockefellers and the other globalists created a dualistic system for changing our society. And
he's trying to call again. He's just trying to put that call out. I don't know why we're losing him.
He just called 47.
Yeah, lost him again. Go ahead, Deborah. Yeah, he dropped out. We'll get him back. Truth's going to keep trying to get him. He has the number to call in too. He has the number to call in as well. So
okay, terrific. Well, I'll just keep rolling.
Yeah, just keep rolling. I mean, honestly, I know we could talk for 3 hours, so I'm not worried about it. But you know,
we could. But Gary has just a wealth of information. For
exactly, but they're doing their little sabotage job on us. They do this all the time. It happened to Fritz Springmeier. It happened to Anthony, and now it's happening to you guys. So.
Well, that's not to be scoffed at, because they know we're waking up. They just assume everybody stay in their slumber and be unaware. But we cannot. America must wake up. It is an absolute must if we are to continue to exist. And I can tell you that the quote that Rothschild made back in Rothschild was from 1743 to 1812. "Give me control over a nation's currency, and I care not who makes the laws." And this was Meyer Rothschild. And there's an excellent interview on our site that Colonel Fletcher Prodie discussed, the Rockefeller-Kissinger plans to set up global markets for oil and energy commodities and food. We have been absolutely lied to, betrayed. Our news media has betrayed us. They don't report the news. They're bought and sold by the elitists. They socially engineer all of us. We're not hearing the truth. We have to go to alternative media to even hear the truth of what's going on. Oftentimes, we even have to listen to news coverage overseas to know what's really going on in the United States.
Yeah, I actually have to watch Al Jazeera TV sometimes to see stuff. But I was going to say,
RTV.
Yeah. That's why it's important for like all the websites you're giving and us, just to tell the listeners again, you might know about chemtrails and you understand what a chemtrail when you see it, but you want to get as much information as you can and get into these websites, because the more you learn, the easier it is for you to talk to your family, to a stranger, to whoever it is you gotta educate. If you just go up to someone and you say, so-and-so, and then you have nothing to come back when they ask you a question, the person right away doesn't believe you. So the more information you could get, I mean, it's never enough is really the point I'm trying to make. And go to all these websites you're saying, you can never know enough, and the more you know, the easier it is for you to teach others. And that's all.
Well, we've made it easy because we put flyers up on our sites. People can download those flyers, keep them in their cars. We also have decided that we're in such an emergency to create awareness, and because people are not hearing it in the news, We actually are putting magnet-size house signs on the sides of our vehicles and our tailgates. Yes, we're the radical type, right? We're really wanting to help people wake up. And we have that on our Toxic Sky website and on our Refuse Smart Meter site. You can get different size bumper magnetized awareness information. We think of our vehicles now as being billboards.
Yeah.
Because there's just no other way to get the info out. And we see people giving us thumbs up. People will come and say, "What's that about? I've seen strange things in the sky." And we'll hand them a flyer.
Yeah.
It's one of the best ways to wake people up. We use signs on our windows as sunscreens so that people can see Refuse Smart Meter or ToxicSky.org. We're just trying in every way possible.
Yeah.
We also have banners that we've placed in vineyards here in the wine country on highly traveled and visited vacation routes so that people can get information that way. We'll park our cars around town on the weekends. Again, we're a little bit more radical because we're really seeing the broad picture, and we're in a great rush to wake up as many people as possible. We simply need more people on our battlefield.
It's crazy that you call yourself a radical just because you're actually someone who's doing something and not sitting home like most people. It's crazy that, nowadays that's considered a radical, I guess.
Well, I'm only saying that because for people that might be listening, that's going to sound extreme. But I'll tell you, when you understand the struggle that we're in for humanity, that this is the very least we must do.
Yes, I agree.
And my purse weighs, my purse is a good weight because I keep all these various flyers in it. I'm constantly passing out flyers. We look into the eyes of our grandchildren, quite frankly, and we wonder what, if any, kind of a world will be left for them. And that has propelled us to put everything we have into getting this word out and getting this information out. And it's just such a vast array of opportunities. If anyone selects any one of the tentacles of this UN Agenda 21 that's on the assault on our lives right now, and you plow into any specific item, you've heard us talk about private-public partnerships, you've heard us talk about ICWI, creeping into our towns and communities. You've heard about the fish and game and the U.S. forestry. We even have San Diego was recently sued by California because they were not paying enough for their greenhouse gas requirements, and that they were building too many roads and not adhering to the reduction requirements. And what's happening is we're finding these large corporations are coming into small cities, and they're suing these small cities. If they want to put a cell phone tower up, there's the threat of a lawsuit to a small town that may not want a cell phone tower, that the citizens do not want a cell phone tower. We are absolutely being rolled over by mega corporations. We are USA Inc. So there are a multitude of opportunities for people to specialize in and really put their effort behind to stop what's happening across our nation right now. And most importantly is stop these smart meters on your home. They're coming. Don't think that you're too rural out in the country and it's not going to happen to you. They are. As a matter of fact, in the country is even a potential greater problem because they have to boost and amplify the frequency, and that can end up being a higher boost of radiation than if you were only 10 feet from your neighbor's property lines. But getting back into the neighborhood of smart grid, on refusesmartmeter.com, there's an excellent video. It's called The Dark Side of Smart Meters. You will see how it affects you, your home, your neighbors, your lives. There is a radius from a map from up above, and it shows that there's a 90-foot radius around your home where you can expect to have this RF emission. But now they've actually even created a larger radius where it's over 1,000 feet. because when you have the homes next to you with smart meters, they're bathing your home, and it goes and washes down on you. And roughly about 1 in every 5 to 700 homes or apartment buildings, the utility companies are installing a special smart meter. It is a miniature cell phone tower. It is a collection device, and it is taking in data from hundreds of homes. And those people, we have found, many are becoming more ill than the people that just have the regular device with the toxic levels of radiation spilling out onto them and into their homes. I can say that this is a stealth deployment. Again, we've been lied to about the benefits. This is not about us saving utility costs or managing our utilities. We can choose to manage our utilities the way that we want to in our homes. They will not allow us during peak energy time of use, when there's tiered use times, to even use our washer dryer. They'll have the ability to remotely manipulate every function in our homes and how we live. And PG&E admitted this is about behavioral changes. They are forcing behavioral changes, all on the hoax of global warming.
Absolutely, that is definitely the truth. And I believe we're also now joined by Dr. Edward Spencer. Doc, are you there? Dr. Spencer.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. How are you, Dr. Spencer?
Fine. Hello, Deborah.
Hi, Dr. Ed.
Well,
yes,
it sounds like you're putting it out very well.
Well, we're covering a multitude of topics, and of course, there are a multitude of topics. And I was also talking to people about how they can get the word out. And I can say that we have signs, flyers. We go to city council meetings, county board of supervisor meetings. We even go to council meetings in our adjacent cities. That's something very important to do, because sometimes you don't realize that an adjacent city is looking at agenda items that your city has not yet looked at. And cities compare notes amongst one another, who's doing what. And it's important to know, if you hear any words like sustainable development, green, greenhouse gas, there's a whole vernacular of words that is very important to recognize. And I can recommend an excellent book for everyone to get. And it's called Behind the Green Mask, UN Agenda 21. And to find this book, you can go to Democrats Against UN Agenda 21. That's Democrats Against UN Agenda 21. And we actually have links to their site from our sites as well. They talk specifically about the eminent domain issues, the property piracy, the meaning of the moving off of rural lands and moving into these human development zones. And they do an excellent job. This book is very well written and very short. There's also a number of YouTube videos on our sites. We have a site called ICLEI, ICLEI.co, and we have some videos up on that site that people can listen to. We're trying to get videos out, short videos. We know that people are busy in their lives with the system collapsing. There's not a lot of time. People are having to work double jobs. They're not feeling really well with the chemical assault on our bodies from the air, foods, vaccines, medicines, everything that is, aimed in our direction. So we're recognizing that, and I see that in my own family, and videos are a good way, and that's what we are trying to get up so that people can sit and watch some videos. We also have movie night here, where we invite groups of people to join us, and it's sort of our downtime, if you want to consider that downtime, showing more information. And we just showed an amazing video. It was a GE video. It's called Deadly Deception, and it's just unbelievable, the lies and the dangers and the wake of human debris and illness and ailments that GE has left in its wake. It is unimaginable what these companies have done.
Oh yeah, they poisoned the GE plant in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Poisoned the Housatonic River with PCBs years ago. I mean, that's what they do. They just and then they just walk away from their mess, and then of course they have all the tax breaks and pay no taxes, and it's just a wonderful system that these criminals have in place for themselves, and as they enslave us. Now, what you said is very important. Now, we are being assaulted on in everything that we eat, in everything that we're breathing, everything that we're drinking, and we have a neurologist here who studied at Yale, Stanford educated, then Yale Medical School, practiced medicine for some 40 years, and he is a specialist in his field. And his name is Dr. Edward Spencer, and he's joining us. Doctor, could you please tell the audience what this assault is doing to our bodies and how deadly it really is? Because there are many skeptics out there, and I have a couple of friends that are doctors that just don't believe that the vaccines are poisoned. They don't understand the history. Now, also, Dr. Spencer is also a tremendous researcher. He's been researching the New World Order since 1996. He knows his stuff. We were talking about things with Babylon the other day. It's incredible. So, Doctor, please put your knowledge and your experience to task here and tell the people what they need to know.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Howard, and I want to say that if I know anything, it's in spite of Stanford and Yale, because I really didn't begin to understand what was going on until probably 1996 or so. Let me tell you about the things they don't teach you in medical school or in residency or in continuing medical education. And, of course, they don't tell you the dark side of vaccines. I just was looking at a DVD by Dr. Tenpenny, which was very good. Vaccines are a terrible hazard at this point. And I would have to say that if there's something labeled a vaccine for any particular thing, flu, for a year, you can't be sure that each dose is the same. And I would have to say that I suspect that they're not. Okay, and another thing that I never learned about was the rife technology of treating bacterial disease and viruses with, excuse me, I'm going to have to.
Yeah. God bless you.
Yeah, I have to
sneeze there. Okay. God bless you.
Anyway, the rife technology was developed about 76 years ago by Royal Raymond Rife, and what this amounts to, he says that every pathogen was likely to have a mortal oscillatory rate. If you could subject it to a frequency, appropriate frequency, the little bacteria would lyse. And this is the case. He developed this instrument. He was funded by Mr. Temco of Temco Rollerberry. This is back in the days when a person could have a corporation, could use his talents to develop a corporation, and then do good things with the money. Obviously, with the current international corporations, no money is going to be spent on enlightening the population. He also, because he wanted to see what he was doing, developed a microscope, the Rife microscope, which was designed so that the beams of light did not cross and there was no interference. And this is kind of a strange-looking instrument, but it actually exceeded electron microscopy and magnification. So you could actually see the bacteria being crushed or lysing under the influence of or under the attack of the right frequency.
Right. This
and
is like
then the story of what happened to Rice is that he fell foul of the AMA, one Morris Fishbein, and the federal government and the legal system, and the whole thing disappeared. So you would think that this story would be something that would be told in universities, that you would know more about this in bacteriology as an undergraduate, as a graduate, or in medical school. But no, I didn't find out anything about this until searching the internet or blundering onto something in the internet about a year ago. So that I didn't know. So that would mean that all of the drugs, so all of the bacteria that are drug resistant, can be treated with this frequency method. And of course, we don't do it. We just pour all of these
vaccines,
antibiotics into people, and they do work to a degree. But now, of course, everything is becoming resistant to them, and we're running into a shortage of medications from big pharma. This is what I hear. So that's what I didn't know. Then the other thing, that's what I wasn't taught, is the whole business of electromagnetic radiation effects on the body and nervous system. And if you go online and check mind control patents, these are patents, which means that they actually work. You'll find a whole series of patents that are of the last century. And this includes the voice to skull, in which an electronic frequency will cause the tissues inside the head to contract and expand and actually produce sound, which somebody can hear. So a sound is directed to someone from a great distance, possibly even a satellite, and they will hear a voice or other sounds or whatever inside their head. And what this means, of course, is that anyone who is declared schizophrenic or psychotic, or because they're hearing voices, you have to exclude this possibility. And that's never done. That's never done by medicine at this time. If somebody hears voices, well, they're crazy. They're hearing voices. But voice-to-skull technology is so old, it's almost archaic. It has cobwebs on it. And then there are other items there, and the patent one was on some emotional manipulation via the television set, these frequencies. We know nothing of all these high frequencies or the various frequencies that can be imposed on the brain. Matthias Chang, who has the website Future Fast Forward, notes that the mind, the brain, has no firewall. We have no defense against the electronic signals that are projected on it. And so we also know they don't help any part of the body, and they appear to be reducing sperm count. And we don't learn this in medical school and continuing education. So I guess the main aspect of my education is what I didn't learn. And these frequencies are bad. There's no positive aspect to smart meters at all that I can establish. And the downside that we know about is severe. But these are all long term. I mean, it's not like somebody installs a smart meter and the next day you're dead. Your body is subjected to a deleterious influence of these frequencies, and you tend to get sick, you tend to not function well, you tend to not think as well, you can't sleep. It's not like somebody shot you in the head, but the deleterious effects are projected from these. And also, from looking at this business of mind control, I have to wonder what other things the smart meter has up its little sleeve that could be projected to us, projected on the the habits that it's reaching electronically.
Wow.
Actually, yeah, that thing you were talking about a little while ago about where they could put the sound right in your ear, I actually remember them showing that on, Jesse Ventura actually put that on television. They actually showed the thing, the guy holding up the thing, and where it makes the sound like right in your ear to where nobody else around. They actually showed the guy who made it with Jesse, so that's been on TV, so you're definitely telling the truth, and that's a real weapon that they have. I just wanted to ask, I know it's a little off topic, but I know you talk about vaccines, and is there any good vaccines? I mean, everybody wonders, like, you know, when you're having a baby, like, if there's any of them that are actually good, or is it you just don't want any at all? That's a
a question I've been asking myself. Is there any good vaccine?
Yeah.
And we have been unable to answer that question to my satisfaction to myself. And the reasoning here is, okay, you have somebody in your sitting across from the table who is your sworn enemy, and this person wants to help you, and you know he hates you, despises you, you know, thinks you're dirt, some sort of animal. But so he takes out a needle and vaccine or whatever it is and injects it through your skin. So your skin is there, the dermis is there to protect you. It's a line of defense. So you let this enemy penetrate it with a needle. Well, of course, what I'm talking about metaphorically is the government, the big pharma, the corporations, using the vaccine or using the syringe has penetrated your skin. They've gone through a line of defense. Can you trust them? And then the next aspect of this is, if you go back in time, how long has the attack on the population, on democracy, on the republic, on the Western mind been going on? And it's been going on a long, long time. I guess one source to look up would be the Silent Weapons for a Quiet War, and that's old. The thought, the desire to attack the population, the planning to attack the population, has been there for a very long time. And certainly it's been there longer than we've had vaccinations. So I don't know if any vaccination is helpful. I do know that, you know, if cleanliness, a good diet, cleaning out wounds is what reduces disease. There's also another source, which I'm going to recommend that people go to Jenny Lake blog. That's L-A-K-E, and check this out. And what she has noted is that areas where the population was subjected to radiation, and I'm talking about ionizing radiation from nuclear events, not the electromagnetic radiation that comes from cell phones and smart meters and the towers, that somehow or other these areas then got the polio vaccine as it came along. And there seemed to be some relationship there of the vaccinating populations that had been exposed to radiation. And this was not an effort to help them. So I would recommend people going to Jenny Lake blog, and that's Jenny, second name H-L-A-K-E blog, and reading her very penetrating papers that she has out there. So I don't know if any vaccine is useful. I'm trying to find somebody I can ask that, because you would think something is probably useful. But
Well, they sure teach the doctors that it's useful, and they go by their like Cell and Lancet. They live by that, which is owned by Rita Zelvier, who is a holding company for the New World Order for the Dutch and English aspect of it. All of the medical books in school are published by this company. They own over 15,000 newspapers and magazines. They own Comcast Cable. They own Cablevision. They own tremendous amounts of propaganda, the school books, hardcore books. So they teach the kids what they want the kids to learn, and they teach the doctors what they want the doctors to know. You hit it right on the head. Frequencies can kill disease.
The Illuminati, the world Illuminati Corporation, I guess, is another way of looking at it. And we're immersed in a matrix of lies. We're absolutely immersed in lies. And if one relentlessly pursues facts and truth, you fairly rapidly come up against these lies, and you can see how they begin to fall apart. But that's a painful thing for people to do, and it entails losing prestige and losing income and losing a job and losing all kinds of things that we think are important when you begin relentlessly pursuing pathways to truth, and truth with a small t. You know, it's something you look for, and then you improve on it, and you keep searching and finding facts that you can establish. I mean, people actually, believe that 9/11. They believe the 9/11 myth put out by the government.
The fairy tale.
And if they choose to, someone, let's see, it was from the anti-corruption website. Someone had presented to Mensa a very detailed study of the Murrah building, the Oklahoma City bombing. And at the end, the comment was, well, this is interesting, but we choose not to believe this.
Yeah, I hear that
so
one a lot.
They choose what they believe, and of course the system is rigged so that they can choose to believe something which will ultimately destroy them.
Yeah, I agree with you, totally. People, they just reject anything they don't want to hear. And like you said, the TV and media, which we know is controlled, already has all the messages there so they could, go along with it. Just like the whole conspiracy theory thing. I always point out, it goes back to the movie with Mel Gibson. They name it conspiracy theories. The movie starts and he's talking about fluoride in the water, Freemasonry, George Bush. And then they right away show him like acting crazy and talking to himself. And, so right away the average person, that's the mind control message, conspiracy theorists, they're crazy, they talk to themselves, they believe all these weird things.
Another really excellent movie to watch is called In Time, I-N Time, T-I-M-E.
I never heard of that.
And that shows, yeah, it's an excellent movie. It really shows you how the cashless society will work. You're actually given time for your life.
Wow.
You get hours added on to your life with work, and then you have, it's like a barcode on your arm.
Wow.
And when you get on the bus, they'll take off so many hours, and that's how you live your life, and you're only given so many initial hours. It is an excellent movie to just see what this cashless society is going to look like, because our value is going to be based on CO2. This is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. People find it hard to believe. And, Dr. Ed, you made a good point. Getting in the know is really, really tough, and it's scary. I know that many people are fearful. They just don't want to deal with it. But there's also a redeeming place in finding out. You go through that fear, but then you actually can come to an understanding. And you then realize that you aren't being fooled anymore, and you're actually living in more of a reality than the box that we've been put in and socially engineered to live our lives in. And there's an enormous redeeming value in getting out of that and knowing what our true life's mission is and identifying that truly while we're here on Earth. And I can just say that for many of our friends and family members, being in this struggle has really defined who we are as a person. It speaks to a higher place of service, and understanding that other people have been lied to as well, and they don't know. And there's the need to be kind and gentle and not angry at those people because they have been fooled. And while they are living in the illusion, they are living in the illusion. And we have broken free. So there is that sense now of realized freedom.
Yeah, well said. I agree.
And I just find that very empowering. It really has put a focus to life's meaning and purpose at this point for many of our family and friends.
Yeah, it's tough at first. It's kind of overwhelming, and people, you know, it is scary at first, but after a while, it's definitely better to know the truth. I mean, I'm not scared of it at all, knowing everything that I do, just like you, because it is empowering to know the truth. That's obviously why that's why they teach us the opposite of everything, because the truth is power. That's why they teach us the opposite of everything. So we have no power.
Well, that's absolutely true. In fact, now that our grandchildren know about the overhead aerial spraying and they can see the military planes overhead, they've now called them the flying devils. So there aren't that many children that can look up and say, this is a heavy spray day.
Yeah.
Or that an 8-year-old can tell you that they're poisoning the crops, killing the bees, and injuring the soil. Not that we want our 8-year-olds to know this, but this is the reality. And I think that as we talk about things with our neighbors, it can be scary. I found that people will shy away. They're not ready to take it in. And that's okay. They're just not ready to take it in. That doesn't mean you get discouraged or that you feel that you are a conspiracy theorist when you know you're not. We have the conspiracy being foisted against us, and these are all conspiracy facts. And that is important to understand what that word conspiracy means. We are being conspired against.
Exactly, Deborah.
So they are. Yeah, they are conspiracy theories, and it's true.
It's not a theory. It's a fact. I say it all the time. It is a conspiracy, but it is not a theory. And you know, it's funny.
That's exactly right.
We were talking.
Well, conspiracy, and I'm trying to figure out this thing. We know that they lie. The conspirators lie and say there's no conspiracy, but it's actually there may be a technical sense to this, and the conspiracy. The RICO is not charged, and no one is convicted. And so, the question is there a conspiracy if there is no conviction? I don't know. I mean, I'm talking legalistically now. I know that everyone, that they meet in rooms, that they plan on doing evil to us, and then they execute this, and they use deception. One can easily say it's a conspiracy, but it's never charged. We don't charge the presidents. No one is charged with what they've done.
Well, the president is a puppet. Obama's a puppet. He's Bush. It's like they're no different. They follow the same protocols. They follow they do what they're told. Like, it was funny when Hillary Clinton became Secretary of State. She almost flubbed and said that it was nice that she was so close to the Council on Foreign Relations, so she can get her orders, but she can get advice. She almost said orders.
Right.
She almost said orders. I could see that she almost said orders. If you look at that video, everybody, and it's famous. It looks like she paused for a second before saying the word advice, and it's true. This is why I'm still trying to get in touch with Gary. We're having problems. I mean, I don't know. He's MIA right now, but he hits hard on this whole part of it, and has such knowledge on it, and it just I wish that he hopefully he'll be able to get through to us. I did leave a message on his voicemail. His phone calls are going to voicemail, so I don't know. Certainly, I know he would, if he could, he'd be calling to get involved in this important information that we're sharing with the world. So, Doctor.
Well, I think I know. I know that Gary has done a tremendous amount of research in identifying the players who has orchestrated.
Right, that's the point. That's such a critical point of our story, isn't it? If you want to call this a story, what we're putting together is we're trying to tell the people right now: the smart meters are killing us. The chemtrails are killing us, the vaccines are killing us, the GMO foods are killing us, Monsanto is run by Bill Gates, who's supposedly helping everybody by giving them vaccines in Africa. And it's just this insane world, and his component is so essential to the understanding of to the why and how and who. And I mean, we could all fill the gaps, of course, but I really, and his insight would just be so well appreciated right now. And I know that they're just not letting him get through, or something's not right. Anyway, Ed.
Well,
add to your. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Deb. You had something to say?
Well, we know that the radio waves are directed as weapons, and they're directed as frequencies, and they're spying with calculated two-way communication devices. We know that.
Yeah, that's how that company is recording us right now from the FBI. There's a company that the FBI has contracted in Virginia since November to record every single internet radio station, including Informed Radio. So if you want to give a shout out to the FBI, they're listening or actually recording us. This unnamed company in Virginia, probably Langley, and anyway, and they're recording every single. You can go. This is mainstream news that they just report and then they bury. That they're recording every single station 24/7. So we're being, we've got an audience at the FBI. Isn't that nice?
Well, I'm sure that the CIA might be listening. We know that they're complicit with a lot of these crimes, particularly the overhead aerial spraying. We know that
Evergreen Air. Evergreen Air is behind it.
Yeah, Gary has talked about the electronic incarceration grid, and the death dumps, as he likes to call them, are orchestrated by MITRE and the Belfer Center. And they're carried out by contractors such as Evergreen International. And you can look over the old CIA Air Force America. And the main chemtrail ingredients were reported as deadly and disease-causing. And this is on the front page article of USA Today, May 12th of 2011. And they call it toxic dust. We have that article loaded up on toxicsky.com. Or .org, excuse me. And then again, he talks about that Army report from Fort Meade, 2006, the science, and the RF radio waves were variable and can cause giddiness to nausea to loss of consciousness. And we also know that recently it was reported that the government, there are new riot shields that will suffocate protesters with low-frequency speakers. And it is not the first crowd control tool, because we know, of course, that the grid, the smart grid, is based on that weaponized technology that's a crowd control tool in our homes with the smart meters. But this will use sound waves, and Raytheon has a patent on it. It's a new type of riot shield that produces low-frequency sound waves to disrupt the respiratory tract and hinder breathing. And even though it sounds a little bit scary, they're letting us know that it will emit bursts of loud and annoying sounds that can induce headaches and nausea. But this particular non-lethal pressure shield creates a pulsed pressure wave that resonates the upper respiratory tract of a human, hindering breathing and eventually incapacitating the target. The patent points out that the sound waves being generated are actually not that powerful, so while protesters might collapse from lack of oxygen reaching their brains, their eardrums won't be damaged. And they say that, like Roman soldiers joining... I know, and listen to this. Envision these...
What psychopaths would invent this shit? Think about that.
Well,
this is like,
this is what they're
I mean, my
using
God.
against
I mean,
protesters.
they're
And I'll
literally
give you
evil people. I mean,
a
it's...
visual description of what they look like. There's a window, and this shield goes down. I don't know what it's made out of, but it goes down to the feet of the law enforcement or whoever has these shields. And if you can imagine a group of them standing side by side, it says that like Roman soldiers joining their shields to form a large impermeable wall, those new riot shields can actually be networked together to form a larger acoustical horn, vastly improving their range, power, and effectiveness. And there's no word on what the long-term medical implications might be if you find yourself on the wrong side of these shields.
Who cares? They don't care. But the people, we have, listen, we have to wake these people. I mean, I know about all this stuff, but, and that's why we do this, and we're all such, you know, so passionate about our work and what we need to get out to get the people to know what's going on. But it's just to think about these people, Deborah. I mean, let's just quantify them as humans. It's funny. You're looking at they're I mean, psychopaths. They're psychopaths.
They're inbred. Yeah, they look at us as mere roaches, insects, locusts, whatever. Right. They have complete disdain towards us. We're using their stuff. And now that they've raped, pillaged, and plundered all our monies, we're valueless to them. In fact, we're a threat because there's too many of us.
And they also got the system to where everything's so high-tech that they don't even really need people anymore. They got machines to do everything.
That's
so that's
true.
why it's time to get rid of the people.
Like Metropolis, Fritz Lang, he was talking about it. There were a lot of people that were awake back. It's amazing, like if you read some of the stuff from back in the 30s and 20s, there were people that knew this was coming when it just was sort of like, you know, the insiders, and they you know, there was definitely people that knew what were going on about Hitler, and they tried to speak out, but nobody listened. Nobody listened.
Right, well, they thought they were insane. Well, now I think that the world has taken such a feeling of change and a visual change. We know that our dollar's collapsing. We know that people are jobless. We know that properties are being foreclosed on record numbers. That's continuing. People are becoming homeless. Private properties are under massive assault. And we have a number of properties out in the desert here in the Antelope Valley area here in California where the county is going out and writing up these people for code violations. And literally, some of these homes are having to be demolished and rebuilt if their door widths aren't wide enough, if there's anything that's not meeting current code, even though some of those homes may be 30, 40 years old. So what many people out there have done is they've simply vacated their properties. They've not been able to afford to remedy the various violations that the county is writing them up on. This is a way in which to steal their property. There's all kinds of manipulation right now happening across the nation. And the goal, if you again look at that movie, Iron Mountain, A Blueprint for Tyranny, you will see the goal is to eliminate private property ownership. And the concern with this massive litigation that's sure to come with the smart meter implication on people, that's going to really just absolutely tangle us up so we're infighting and we're not looking at the bigger picture. They are, by design, taking everything we have, everything. And it's not just our real estate property, it's our bodies. They want it all.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
I was going to say the whole thing with the property that I always mention, the fact that we have to pay tax on our property, then we technically never really even own our property, do we? I mean, if you own something, then they can't take it. So the fact that they could take it if you don't pay tax, to me, really means that we don't even own property.
That's
true.
Is
that fair
That's
to say?
exactly right.
That's true.
Well, we felt just completely violated as property owners, and particularly, not that it matters in the instance, but where we built these properties. And when they came on and forced, you know, without our being there, reinstalled the smart meters on our properties, we realized the loss of property rights that we had. and now has.
Yep.
They've violated our ability to make decisions, healthful decisions for our people, to keep our people safe. And we've been forced to have biohazards on our homes that we own.
Yeah.
We are in a horrifying position. I will tell you, horrifying. It's going to impact property values. What values? There are hardly any values left, but those that there are, plus people when they move and they move into another place, they've got to inform the tenants that there are biohazards on the property.
It's crazy. You can't even build a shed in your backyard without getting a license from the government. You can't do anything with your property. It's sad.
It's sad.
Well, the California State Water Board came out here to Northern California a few months ago. They have a plan where they want to start an annual inspection of all septic and leach fields, because they want to confirm that leach fields aren't contaminating and causing impaired waterways.
Because they care about our health.
The problem is the definition of impaired waterways. They showed a map of California, and many little creeks and things looked like they had identified them as being impaired, and they can reclassify the definition of impaired whenever they choose. So they were requiring fees for these annual inspections, and then upgrading the systems. Many people are in locations where they cannot upgrade their leach fields and their septic systems. They will actually then be red tagged. The properties will then become uninhabitable. There are so many ways in which they are attacking property right now. Again, it's for all plausible deniability. If they attacked it all in the same way, we would have caught on, and this would be over. We would all be aware of what they're doing if they did it the same way. They are in disguise, stealth. They've spent years in these plans. They in the New World Order Exposed, what they keep saying repeatedly is that the American people do not ask the right questions.
That's exactly right. Exactly. Well, that's what we have to do. We have to get everybody out there that's listening to ask questions. Why are these planes keep putting these lines of? Why is all this stuff in the sky? Well, I mean, I can't believe people don't notice it, but they're so not paying attention because they're dumbed down. The education system's dumbing them down. The food and the food, GMO foods. You have. I mean, we're being assaulted, like you're saying. I mean, Ed, you're still with us, right? I mean, so let's talk about this assault a little further. Let's the three of us talk because Vinny had to go. He's leaving. He left the broadcast, so it's just the three of us right now, and hopefully we can get Gary back. Truth, if you can, try to get in touch with Gary. Okay. All right.
Yep.
Are you still there,
Dr.
Ed? Ed, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, Ed. So listen, we've been talking for the last 2 hours about basically the smart meters and how they're poisoning us, of course, radiating us. And you're a neurosurgeon or neuro doctor, you're neurologist. You know how this affects the body and the mind and these frequencies that are mind controlling us. I talk about mind control all the time. I look at a lot of people. It's the hardest thing for the people that are not aware to realize that we're under mind control and that there's this beta and alpha state. Can you speak about that a little bit? In other words, when we're watching television, we're in this suggestive alpha state, and then when we're concentrating on something like doing work or something that requires skill or concentration, we're in a beta state, and it lulls you into being open to suggestions. Do you agree with that?
Dr. Ed?
Doc, did you get that?
We're having some phone problems for certain today.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, everybody listening, but this does happen. But Ed dropped. He'll come back. We'll get him back. They're trying. I'm glad we've had a straight connection all the way through. I mean, so far, Deborah, so far.
Well,
he's coming back. He's back.
I can tell you that I have a tremendous amount of feedback. So when I'm speaking, I'm hearing a lot of echo in my ear. So I'm having a hard time keeping on track because of that distraction. but that's okay. I'm not going to allow that to distract me, because everyone out there that's listening, we're distracted enough. And we need to learn the truth. We need to go to these websites, which I'm sure that you can. I actually will repeat them again.
Sure.
RefuseSmartMeters.com. That will get you over to our expanded site. Please take a look at all the information we've loaded up there. Go to toxicsky.org. Look at that, and there are the flyers there, the bumper stickers, and you can also go to commoncrime.net. There's wonderful films on that site and additional information and go-to links. And again, I can't stress enough, read The New World Order Exposed, that's on RefuseSmartMeter.com, and watch Iron Mountain, A Blueprint for Tyranny. You can either watch it or you can read the book. There are many, many other things, and I would suggest those as a start, because we really are in the end game. Many people now that have been studying this and are aware of, and have been aware of this for many, many years, have noticed an exponential increase in everything that's occurring. Every day the onslaught seems to be thickening and getting worse. We're noticing here in Northern California, it just seems like the overhead aerial spraying has just gotten thicker, and things seem lower and more compressed, and more trees are dying. It's just almost, it's just hard to imagine. But what is wonderful is to be out on the battlefield, knowing somewhat what our enemy's tactics are. We certainly don't know them all, but somewhat, and being able to fight for what we believe, what we've been taught to believe at least, and know that what we want back is our freedom. We're enslaved right now. We are absolute slaves. We have to have passports when we go anywhere. We have to have licenses from state to state. We have to have licenses to drive. We are in a system of enslavement, and they've just allowed us to have the sense of some freedom so that we would be more productive.
But we embrace our slavery. That's the key to it. I mean, that's like Aldous Huxley said. The key to the elite's key, the oligarchs' plan, and their challenge was to get the people to love their servitude through the media, through these game, like in the 70s it was the game shows and the variety shows. In the 80s it was this, it just kept changing. Today it's the reality TV, and the sporting is always common. Sports, and all these distractions. The news tells you nothing. It's just it's ridiculous. We're under an absolute assault on visually, audibly, as we eat, breathe, and work. Our jobs, they take our paychecks,
That's right. It includes even perfumes, underarm deodorants, crackers, any and everything that is provided for our consumption or use has a choice. And we call it an Illuminati choice, or a choice to be more healthy. The Illuminatis are giving us choices. And in the New World Order, they tout about the idea of those that make choices that they're given. And in a way, that is the way in which they can, I shouldn't say feel good. There's no feel good about them at all. They're lunatics, mad people. But it's a way in which we have choices to make, and we can survive some of this. But they've amplified it up. This overhead aerial spraying, it's tough to think of the kinds of choices, but I know that there are lots of supportive health remedies that are over-the-counter vitamins and other things that people can take to support their immune system. Certainly think about your diet, what you eat. Make certain that you're not eating animal products that are fed GMO feed, which is hard to know because now there are so many huge farms. I was reading recently that some of the areas in the United States that are bringing the highest per acre value is farms in Illinois. They're selling to corporations where they have been owned in generational families for years and years, generations, are now being bought up by large corporations, and they're growing corn for ethanol. And of course, this is all GMO seed. And what's also interesting, I was listening to a conversation recently about a GMO talk, and they're saying that now the farmers must plant a crop next to the GMO crop that is non-GMO because the bees are dying. We can only sustain for 4 years without our pollinators. And
wait a minute. Didn't Monsanto and all these criminal lawyers like Michael R. Taylor, who heads the FDA, appointed by King Obama? Didn't they sue farms because of the opposite? Like, again, this is ridiculous. If their seeds commingle with your seeds, they become contaminated, and therefore there are seeds. Isn't it again that same type of thing, but now in reverse?
It is.
Yes,
it is.
It's reversed.
Farmers have been under attack.
So the opposite is happening.
The raw milk industry has been under attack. They've tried to implement vitamins now as being prescription. They're taking every supportive tool that we have. They've decimated the Amazon rainforest, where we've had many, many healthful natural products come from the rainforest. This is all by design. In fact, I was talking to a priest recently who was telling me that a mission down in the Amazon region, one of his friends that ran a mission, was watching the daily assault of the planes flying over, dumping stuff on all the little villages. And the vaccine programs down there have resulted in just massive, massive deformities. They are attacking rural areas all over the world. Even now here, our farmlands, the Central Valley of California, the San Joaquin Valley, has been shut down for quite some time because they won't allow the water because of the Delta smelt fish that goes into the bay. So we have farms and ranches. If you drive down the main highway through California, which is I-5, you will see large signs that were made and placed on the side of the road by farmers and ranchers that say, Congress has turned us into a dust bowl. So we look at all of the food-generating areas in our nation are under assault. We've been told there will be food reduction. We've been told there will be scarcity in water. And when you look at all the dams blowing up, so anyone who's listening, take a look at the dams near you in your town. Find out if it's slated to be blown up, decommissioned, because of it's not sustainable. And fight to keep your dams. We are in trouble, and we're going to have to hang on to what will support our life and our health in the United States, because it is being pulled out from underneath our feet every single day. And we've identified the culprits here. The plan is to depopulate by 95%, and that is 19 out of 20 people. Look around the room. Check and see how many people that is. That is their plan. In fact, I tasked a family member of mine to look that up for me some time ago to verify that. And it was several days before we received a phone call at 3:30 a.m. in the morning with a sobbing child on the other end of the line saying that, oh my goodness, it was absolutely true. They verified it. And I can say that it is horrific, but we know, and when you know, then you can fight against it. And it's what you know that will save us. It's what you know that will save us.
Well, you know, sometimes... Go ahead, Ed.
I'm back. I think I got cut out for a second. Yeah, it's actually 100%. The kill-off is going to be 100%. Because if you look at the Guidestones, they talk about having a natural language. Basically, they want to destroy the Western civilization mind. But the kill-off for us is a 100%. We would not, it's not going to be 1 out of 20 who remembers the past, that's going to be alive, that they want to destroy what we are. They want to destroy the creativity, the ethics. It's very important to realize this is an attack on ethics. This is an attack on Christianity, anything that promotes investigation, understanding, and knowledge. So that the kill-off is actually 100%. That's what the plan is. I mean, you may have a body left there, but it won't know what it's doing.
Yeah,
Well, this gets into transhumanism.
Well, it is transhumanism, and Ray Kurzweil, it's insane, you know. And I actually have the dishonor of unfortunately attending the same college as Ray Kurzweil. I mean, we both went to Queens College in New York City, but that's really sickening to me. Now he is a and look at Time Magazine. They this is beautiful. Let's put, like, you know, plug a hard drive into our heads, you know, like plug a cord into our heads, and we don't need bodies anymore. And, you know, it doesn't really need, you know, you don't really need a body anymore. In the future, no, your whole life will be totally virtual. And people love it. They love it. I can't, it makes me sick, transhumanists. I mean, I can't even believe that people are so gullible to not see what that means. They're not talking about something 200 years from now.
Yeah, they're working on it right now.
Exactly. Again,
it's so sci-fi. I mean, when we start learning more and more about it, I know that many of us look at one another and we say, you know, this is just a really bad movie.
It's like a Twilight Zone episode. Life every day is like a Twilight Zone episode. It really is.
Yeah, there's no need. Yeah, you're absolutely right, and there's no need to actually go out for entertainment while we still will watch movies that fit more information ability. We're living in the biggest movie, the biggest script we could have ever have imagined.
Yeah, and the Illuminati write the script, and they direct it, and they're the producers. Exactly, and Illuminati Productions.
We're the extras.
Yeah.
We're cast as players.
We are literally players.
Disposable players.
Well said. That's exactly true. And, you know, we've been talking a lot. I'm parched here. Wait a minute. We're talking so much about this, and Doctor, you know, I want to just get some more of your insight, because, you know, we just want to talk a little more. You know, you've been unfortunately dropped off the call a couple times. Why don't you take the floor for a little while and give into this control grid that we're under, that we had talked about, that goes on literally for hundreds of years. This isn't anything new, and how it relates to today, to the smart meters, to the fact that now everything that we do is controlled by these evil people, and what we can do to because we talked about having a solution. You know, when you and I talked on the phone, we talked about exposing their intention and their motivation. What motivates them?
Okay, you're asking me what are our core other actors.
And again, because
well, first of all, what I am quite sure that most of the people attacking us are minions. They're not that far from normal in their mentality. They're working for a paycheck. They have been disciplined not to ask questions, not to question. And they are not prepared to make the self-sacrifices that are necessary. So most of the people attacking us are minions. They're very much like we are. And these are guys probably running hard. They're the pilot in the airplane, probably, certainly the maintenance crew. They're just pretty much like we are, but they have not awakened to the horror. They probably feel that because they're part of the system, they're going to survive, but they're not. No, they're not going to thrive from this. Their seed is not going to go forward. Then we have above them, at the top of the various agencies, and certainly in the Oval Office, and you can really see this in the last 4 presidents, we have a personality disorders, character disorders rather, psychopathic personalities, and they do not have the same feelings that we do. They do not have compassion at all. They do not. They are different. They are actually, I think, physically different. Certainly in terms of the way their brains are functioning, and they run the world. They run the world at the top. And the question is then, how did they get there? And there's a couple of books that I'm going to recommend that people work on, because they're not. Well, one is an easy read. That's Hidden Evil by Mark Rich. You can get that on Amazon. That's very, very well written and very easy. The other book, which is detailed, is Political Ponerology. It's Ponerology. And I can't Lobowiczki, I think is the author. He's Polish, late. And this is a study that was done in Poland at great danger to themselves to understand the nature of evil. Where does it come from? How is it created? And certainly people who are evil, who have these disorders, are attracted to each other or to systems in which they thrive. This can be called thriving. So that's kind of the level up at the top. It's really psychopathic in its mentality, whether they're born that way or whether they are produced by various rituals and methodologies. I'm not sure, but I'm quite sure that there are a number of methodologies out there to turn people, normal people, this way. You can see this in Skull and Bones. I don't know if any of them are normal or not. And we have our last 4 presidents who are clearly have this problem. And where did the whole thing come from? Well, I think that it's really ancient. Because what the only thing that makes sense to me out of all this is that this is a war on Western civilization, and Western civilization is hated because it has been very creative. Lots of people have done spectacular things in Western civilization, and it really was breaking away from the mold of slavery. So, of course, Western civilization is being used to destroy itself. All of the technology is being used against it. The whole thing is actually self-destruction, because the people who are listening to this phone call, the various law enforcement agencies, the alphabet, the military, they're all on the path to destruction. They are not going to survive. If they just simply read the Guidestones, do they see themselves in there as being conscious of anything? It would look like the 500 million left would not be conscious. So I think that this has come from the remote past, and what I do believe, and that I'm putting in belief, I don't know how to get the correct terminology. One way to look at things or to establish some margins of truth is if there's information hidden. If there's critical information and it's hidden, it's never mentioned, you can't get a grant to study it, you can't do anything about it. I mean, you get fired if you look at it, if you're in an academic position, then that's significant. It's been painted with void paint. You're just not supposed to go there. And what we're not supposed to go there we're not supposed to go to is the fact that the civilization existed on the planet, multiple tens of thousands of years ago, and mapped the whole thing. The whole Earth is mapped. And the Pyramid of Giza was probably the prime meridian at that time. a lot of things, a lot of the zodiac, the occult stuff, it's actually probably related to the stars and the efforts to use this for navigation and establishing a mapping of the Earth. So
well, it almost sounds like, Dr. Ed, you're talking about when people used to think the Earth was flat, huh?
Yeah, that was that was the last fraud.
The group, the entities that let's say that are in charge have always known, certainly in the last for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, that the Earth was spherical. The flat Earth thing was just put there probably to it's a disinformation thing.
It was a way to keep people controlled on one continent,
That's
wasn't
right.
it?
Yeah.
Not to get out there and explore further. They were afraid they'd fall off.
Exactly.
Right. It's all nonsense. And the map, they have always known, in the they in quotes, whoever they are. And I think we kind of almost know the names of some of them. Like I would say that Admiral Canaris in the Third Reich was probably close to the top of this. But the German traitors were probably close to the top of this group, because you have to figure, well, okay, Hitler is supposed to be the worst thing in the world. I won't go there. But if you're a German general and the Germany took over Europe and Russia, wouldn't your position be elevated? Yet everything was done to essentially throttle the German efforts and actually to destroy the German people. And this was carried out by people who are ostensibly Germans. So I think this is one area where you can sort of see this group. They kind of emerge.
What in your opinion would people be doing now? Because we're at a tipping point, like when you were there with me and we heard Ted Turner speak. He said we're on a tipping point, and I agree with him in a different way. I believe that they've created this tipping point, and we're all on this globe together, and we're at a tipping point. From your viewpoint now, with what's occurring, what would you be recommending people to do right now? Besides become educated, what other steps do you see that people might take to live in this moment that we find ourselves cast in? Because there are going to be people waking up in the very near future to a reality that they are not familiar with, and they're going to be caught off guard mentally and emotionally. And you're a neurologist. Where is that going to put millions of people?
Well, it's a very interesting time. People see what happens. What my stance has always been, and I sort of plod and have been determined, is that one must understand the entire picture as well as one possibly can, and also to understand that in understanding the entire picture, you're not going to know it all, and there's going to be a lot of disinformation there. I think the one thing I try to, in a sense, I'm trying to reach millions, people who are attacking us, who are quasi-normal at least, or semi-normal, and to make them understand, to help them understand that they are destroying themselves, that they are not going to be part of a line into the future. They are going to be terminated, and that all of their thoughts and everything they know is going to be terminated. That would seem to be the plan. Certainly, the massiveness of attack indicates that this is the way it's going. Everything is going to go down. So that's why I would like to, to in a sense communicate with people who have power in this and put the question in there, put the doubt in their mind of what are you doing? What are you doing? And following these orders of people who are unequivocally psychopathic. Now, the other problem is how do you get people to acknowledge that we're in trouble, or to understand the whole problem. or to wake up, as we put it. This is a big one because it's very clear that churches could be rallying points for survival, but they're not. And they are basically, they're getting us to fall on our knees and prepare for death and heaven.
Well, yeah, you could thank Rockefeller for that.
On the ethics and on interacting and understanding the world as it is today. And I see this, and I've gone to a number of churches, and basically they're not informing the flock of the problem. My idea of what a real church should be is that if you had a question, you would go there, and of course they would not necessarily know the answer, but they would refer you on. They would have a really good Rolodex, to use old terminology. That's not the way it is.
Don't you think many of them have been socially engineered too, obviously, by the system?
Yeah, the Council of Churches.
If we had such a system of awareness, we would not be on this radio right now talking about this vast, deep deception and betrayal. If we had any kind of network that would have allowed this not to have happened, again, we would not be here on this phone call right now.
Well, right now the network that we have is growing into something that could not have been 100 years ago due to the internet, which is another reason why they want to shut it down and limit it and censor it. But the Council of Churches, like I said, I mean, Rockefeller, there's a World Council of Churches. So it's obviously easy to manipulate people when they have such beliefs in various religions. Now, again, I'm not a proponent of any one or other religion. Everyone has the right to their own beliefs. But the Illuminati use religion as a control mechanism. And they infiltrate.
Absolutely.
They infiltrate the religions. They do. It's on record.
True. They've infiltrated everything.
Yes.
Every single thing. And as we were talking about earlier, it is very difficult to know what is real anymore.
The echo has gotten incredible since we started on the topic. The echo is almost overwhelming since we started on this topic. But the Bible itself, the Old Testament, I think, was written to block something out. The Jewish scholars who are very and archaeologists who are very bright and persistent have discredited much of the Old Testament. There's no evidence to support what is written there. And then it's very interesting that the flood story of Noah and all of that kind of gives us a start at 6,000 years ago. And it says, in a sense, that's when everything began. Don't go back beyond that. Whereas if you go around and check all of the, I think every culture on Earth, everybody, including the Aborigines in Australia, there's a flood, have a flood legend. Everybody has stories of the flood, and that's because the sea level was 400 feet lower during the Ice Age. When the glaciers melted, there were these massive floods everywhere. It probably wiped out a lot of what was going on at that time. And that's all the Bible tells us. Oh, don't go there. Nothing to see here, folks. Just look at 6,000 years. That's the start date. I find that as being perhaps too much of a coincidence in a world in which, of course, we're run by coincidence.
Well, interesting that you should talk about flooding and sea level rising, Dr. Ed, because that is exactly what much of the conversation here, as you know, in Northern California is with this regionalization and the concern for global warming. They are concerned that the Bay Bridge will not be above water because of the melting of the polar cap. And this is one of the reasons that they're pushing all of this green, not so green, regulation up on us. We are being, again, snookered. We are being massively betrayed. The new green is the bankster's machine.
Absolutely.
And they are heading us for carbon tax credit. That is what are doing to us.
Absolutely. Deborah.
And we need to wake up about the truth about fossil fuels. We need to wake up about the truth that the sustainable development is a tool of fear to make us accept rules, regulations, fines, penalties, and taxations to take away not only our real estate, but to force us into these human settlement zones, stack and pack communities, to decide what we will eat, whether it's GMO or otherwise, how many calories we will get. This is a complete takeover of our lives. It's happening right now across the nation.
Need to talk about anthropogenic global warming. We need to really be experts on this and put the data out there. And, they talk about the sea level rising. I don't know if the sea level is going to rise or not. But I'll tell you, if the way the Earth is cycling, and it's going to rise, and we're not going to stop it. It's like they didn't stop the meltdown of the glaciers and the rise of sea level 400 feet, which occurred over about 10,000 years, starting, I think, 17,000 years ago, approximately.
Well,
and this is another thing like, well, what melted the glaciers? Well, it must have been something humans did, right, at that time? It was camel gas. I don't know.
Well, listen, Ed, Ed.
Dr. Ed, I have got some great articles up on the website on newworldorderexposed.com. And some of those articles are articles that Al wrote, and Al. And they're excellent researched articles with YouTube videos that talk about the lie of fossil fuel, the deception in, really promoting the idea that gas was made from dead dinosaurs decaying. And it really debunks the Rockefeller idea to make money on falsifying the truth around how all of the oil production really occurs. Those are on the website. And Al, as you know, Dr. Ed has done a tremendous amount of research and compiled other scientists' research. And what we need to do right now is just understand a certain level of the deception so that we can empower ourselves with getting out of the delusion for those that are still in the delusion, and get out of it as best you can.
Well, discrediting it is the best way to do it. Like, for example, I think it was about 5 years ago, I forget the professor's name, in the University of Miami, or 6 years ago, said that by 2012, Miami would be underwater.
Well, we know what they're doing out in the Florida Keys right now. They're releasing those weaponized mosquitoes.
Yes.
Speaking of Florida.
Oh yeah, there's a lot. Well, yeah. Well, Bill Gates and his vaccine mosquitoes. Yeah, that's great. It's beautiful. It's lovely.
Right. I mean, we're talking about things right now today that people need to know about. We really are truly in a struggle for humanity, and the elites have robbed us. Our government has betrayed us. And it's important for people to understand the degree in which our weapons have turned on us. And we are really at a pivotal time. And what we're trying to do is wake people up. See anything at all that we've discussed today on this program and become more informed. The minute the door starts to open on any one of these topics that we've covered, whether for you it's the losing of your farm or ranches, the forced inspections, fines, penalties, and regulations that you're finding. Find out if your city has signed on to ICLEI, I-C-L-E-I. Take a look at the private-public partnerships that are smashing entrepreneurship in the United States. We will absolutely have no industry. We are being collapsed, and we will have the lifestyle of a third world country. They are imploding our standard of living. We will be paying massively higher utility costs, and we will be managed within our homes. We will be made sick to benefit Big Pharma. This is the plan. They're stuffing their pockets with our with our blood, sweat, and tears. We are slaves.
Well
and they
said.
are benefiting every way.
Exactly. We are slaves, and that's what we have to understand, is that we're slaves to the system. The Federal Reserve is a fraud. All of these things are frauds. We are living in a fishbowl, in a fish tank. And everything outside of the fish tank we don't know anything about. We only know what's inside the tank, while the controllers live outside the tank and control the environment.
What has recommended that we do is stop using credit cards, stop paying online, get back to our good old system of writing checks, at least for the time being, and start to unplug from the deception that they've set up to control us. Just don't sign on. It's going to take greater awareness to the degree of control that all of this convenience is aiming us towards. We are being convenienced into our demise.
Well, what about that
technologies are taking over our lives.
Right.
There's not going to be any way out unless we stop it now.
What about the tattoo place?
Smart meters are absolutely important. We must stop those at our doors. There is no legislation right now that is going to prevent your utility company from installing these on your homes. And for those of you that are just tuning into this, you can call your utility company, if you have not become aware yet of smart meters, to confirm that they are being deployed up on your home, your neighborhood. They will tell you yes. They will tell you when. Go to refusesmartmeter.com, get signs, start educating your neighbors, put signs out, make signs. Just get involved. Stop this. The more people that can stop this, we can win. And this is a plea from California. We are the template for so many United Nations Agenda 21 agendas. And it is filtering through the heartland and the rest of our nation. And as a nation, we must now pull together as people and fight this evil regime that has come down to absolutely create a world that we will not want to live in. We will not want to continue with the type of world that they have slated for us. This is not America. We have to regain our standing. We have to become fighters to retain and get back what we've already lost. We are enslaved, and we have to stop the further enslavement and incarceration of this electronic grid, because we will become very sick, very managed, very controlled.
Well, it's
the last shred of freedom that we had in our homes, because we will be monitored.
It's worse than that. It's like, you know, we're embracing our slavery. It's like the third time I'm bringing up Aldous Huxley. I mean, there's a tattoo shop in Arizona that does barcode tattoos, so you can just put your iPhone onto your tattoo. Isn't that cool? And you can, like, you have your own barcode, and people are getting them. And boy, they're hoping that trend will catch on. And people like it because it's their identity. It's only them. Only I have this. It's insane. And this is what we're up against. We're up against all of these tools that seem so cool and slick that are really meant to control us, like the games and the video games and the Facebook accounts and all of this data mining information. It's all more and more control. And we're at a point where, just like you said, Deborah, they're poisoning us. We're dying. This is no joke. And we have to, like, find out if these smart meters are being put in our communities. I haven't heard about it yet, but boy, I mean, even if you haven't heard about it, we should just say, call your local electric company and say no to smart meters. Petition them. I mean, it's crazy. It's General Electric.
Go to your city councils. Inform your city councils. There are over 44 counties and cities in California that either have written letters to our Public Utility Commission or have put in place moratoriums against smart meters. And the utility companies are rolling right over these cities with moratoriums. This is a planned rollout deployment. This is a monster rolling out, and we still have time to stop it. this is our plea to the rest of the nation from California. And Dr. Ed, I know you know what we're talking about because you are, in an area of deployment as well. And this is a plea. If you have not yet heard about them, you've heard about them now. We've told you. Be warned. This is not something that's going to not roll out in your area. This is an intended global incarceration. This is technocracy. This is for a totalitarian regime, total control and management of all of our resources. And we, as humans, are their resources. They will manage us just as they will electricity, gas, and water. So before you give it up to the idea that this is convenient and you can watch your electricity use on your computer, I encourage you all to go to refusesmartmeter.com. There are many links. There's many studies from links on that website. That website doesn't tell it all, but there are many additional links. You can start looking around for those that need to. Again, go to toxicsky.org. Become familiar with the overhead aerial poisoning of our planet and our soils and us as well. Become informed. We must stop this. How much more poison can we take? We can't take much more.
No more. No more poison. And that's right. We must be informed, and this is Informed Radio, and you're listening to Howard Nima. My co-host, Vinny B. The Truth, is left a little early today. But we're speaking with Deborah Tavares, and an activist for change and truth, and Dr. Edward Spencer. I just want to give a call out a few things. Now, after at 4 o'clock today, Eastern Standard Time, we have Bobby Kay with projectfreedom.com doing readings with Mark. That'll be directly after Informed Radio's broadcast of We Are Change. Guys, I appreciate all the time you spent with us. I wish that Gary was able to get back online. Obviously, they kept it from us. We will try to get him back on again, and I'm sure he'll be happy to do so. And I invite you guys back again and again, anytime. And if you have any breaking news like you had today, please call me and we'll broadcast it.
Thank you so much, Howard. Really appreciate the opportunity, and everyone out there listening, please go to these websites and do your homework.
Now, there'll be a rebroadcast of this, and of course, we put it down, and it'll be 24/7. It just streams at livestream.com /Truth Talk News, and I'll edit it down to content, and we'll include all of the websites mentioned during the broadcast for the visual, because there is a video of this. So that'll be showing all the websites and all the sponsors and all of the people that help us get this message out. Just to do that real quick, if I could just clear my throat here. Got a few minutes of thanks I got to give out to people so I don't forget. Big shout out to Pam Suggs at UnitedTruthSeekers.com, helping to spread the truth, and to Harry Link at DeathToTheNewWorldOrder.com. Also to the Truth Video Broadcasting Network.tv. That's Truth Video Broadcasting Network.tv. Also, we're going to have to shout out for pentracks.com. That's Fritz Springmeier's site. All of his fine work is there. We also have, oh my God, the We the People Network with Roger Landry. Thank you for all you do. You're 1.1 million strong. Join your groups. If you have any groups, freedom groups, liberty groups, truth groups, go to We the People Network. We the People Network. It's 1.1 million strong. These are activists. These aren't people that talk. Now, Gary was talking to me before off air that he wanted to speak about how it's great that everyone's listening and learning this truth, but we have to be active. We have to do something. We can't just take this information and listen to it and eat popcorn. It is not entertainment. Okay, we try to make it entertaining, but it is not entertainment. It is real life and death. They are trying to kill us. They are trying to poison us. They are trying to depopulate us, but first they want to fleece us and take everything that we have, bring us to serfdom, give us GMO foods that sterilize us in 3 generations. They want to kill us, period. Now, this attack is relentless. It's in everything that you eat, everything you drink, the fluoride in the water, this vaccine in the shots, the chemtrails in the air. As I said, the GMO foods, my God, it goes on and on and on. It is an assault against humanity, and they're rolling out radiation now. Radiation in your cell phone, radiation in your smart meters. We have to wake up to the smart meters, because they are going to come everywhere. This green thing is garbage. It is a fraud. It is all for carbon taxes. Al Gore's got 10 houses, or 4 houses, 12,000 square feet houses, and he's talking about global warming. I'd like to see his electric bill. Makes me sick. Also, we have a new host for Informed Radio. Mondays and Tuesdays at 8 p.m. we'll have Stephen, the sign guy from heaven. He'll be hanging out with us, spreading truth and love. Mondays and Tuesdays so far. More to go with that. We'll have other shows that are going to be on there, like Ronnie. Might as well speak about Ronnie, the great Ronnie Bennick. I love Ronnie. She's down under in Australia, and her show is called Outside the Margins. She's on at 8 p.m. In the evening. I believe it's Saturdays and Sundays. So we have a couple of live shows right there for you, and 24-hour Truth Talk News here on informedradio.com. I thank you again, Deborah, for joining us, and I thank you, Ed. Truth War, take us out.
There's a need for a new world order. Someday, in the next few years, a solution will emerge.
Don't assume it was left by accident. If you see something, say something.
Vice President Dick Cheney.
We are changed.
Takes a question from David Rockefeller.
Vice President, I just enjoyed so much your whole speech, but I was particularly pleased that you gave such a strong endorsement for the free trade agreement for all the Americans. A subject that has been of great concern to me for many years, and particularly recently, and I think it's absolutely essential for the strength of our economy.
To fulfill the long-held promise of a new world order, we can find meaning and reward by serving some higher purpose than ourselves. A shining purpose, the illumination of 1,000 points of light. What is at stake is more than one small
exposing
country.
The collectivist global
It
elites.
is a big idea.
Malthusian quest for a new world order. A one-world
Where
dictatorial
diverse
government where all
are
aspects
drawn
of
together
human
in
life
common cause
are under their control.
to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind.
We are change. Where news the mainstream media ignores is the top story, and your voice is heard.
We are in process of developing a whole series of techniques which will enable the controlling oligarchy to get people actually to love their servitude. People can be made to enjoy a state of affairs which, by any decent standard, they ought not to enjoy.